Chapter 188. The young woman walked in front of Ling Xiao and explained, "The third floor is filled with high-level spirit grasses and is only open to distinguished guests of the herb hall. Please forgive us, little brother." Ling Xiao responded. He didn't hear Li Kuanghu mention this before he came, so he probably didn't know that the herb hall had such a rule. "Then how do I get a VIP card?" Ling Xiao asked. The third floor naturally had such a rule, so he naturally couldn't force his way in. One had to know that there was at least a spirit master guarding each floor. Just by looking at their strength, the herb hall wasn't a place to be trifled with. The young woman stretched out her hand and said, 5 Xian crystals can be used to get a VIP card." Hiss! When Ling Xiao heard this, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. At the side, Li Kuanghu's face also became ugly. What was a Xian crystal? It was a cultivation resource for experts, and it was also the proof to purchase high-level spirit grasses, Xian skills, Xian arts, and other things. In the northwest, Xian crystals were extremely rare. For example, in Meteorite City, even the large Ling clan only had a dozen Xian crystals after 1,000 years of accumulation. It could be seen how precious Xian crystals were. And now, to go to the third floor of the herb hall, he had to spend 5 Xian crystals. This was not a small price. "Okay, help me get one." Ling Xiao hesitated for a moment, but still decided to get a VIP card. After all, he was already a rank 3 alchemist and would need a lot of rank 3 spirit grasses in the future. He also didn't need to go to the deep forest every time he needed spirit grasses. As long as he had enough gold and Xian crystals, he could also find a lot of good spirit grasses. The young woman looked at Ling Xiao in a daze, as if she didn't believe that Ling Xiao could take out Xian crystals at such a young age. In the blink of an eye, there were a few Xian crystals in Ling Xiao's hand. "Quickly help me, I'm in a hurry." "Oh, I'm sorry, young master. I'll get it done right away." The young woman knew that she had lost her composure and quickly apologized respectfully. She went to help Ling Xiao apply for a VIP card. Those who could casually take out Xian crystals were all big shots. However, Ling Xiao was so young and could easily take out 5 Xian crystals. The power behind him must be extraordinary. Watching Ling Xiao take out the glazed crystal, Li Kuanghu's expression became fanatical. He finally believed that Ling Xiao's identity was absolutely extraordinary. Moreover, Ling Xiao was already a level 3 alchemist at such a young age. No matter where he was, his identity was extremely honorable. He was even more determined to follow Ling Xiao. The young woman also quickly applied for a VIP card for Ling Xiao. As long as Ling Xiao dripped a little blood into the card would automatically record all of Ling Xiao's spending in the herb hall. Moreover, this card was much more honorable than the card obtained in Meteorite City. Everything spent in the herb hall could be converted at 70%. Moreover, if there were good things in the herb hall, the members would be given priority to buy them. Now Ling Xiao finally realized the function of this card. Now that he was an alchemist, he would definitely need to buy a lot of spirit herbs in the future. Deducting 30% of gold coins or Xian crystals could really save a lot of wealth. Since this card could only be used by one person, Ling Xiao could only go to the third floor by himself. Xia Xian was taken by Li Kuanghu. There were not more things on the third floor than on the second floor, but what was displayed in front of Ling Xiao were level 3 spirit herbs that he had never seen before. This is level 3 low-rank flame grass, and level 3 low-rank yellow Kuan tail vine. Ling Xiao looked at the valuable spirit herbs in front of him, and his eyes were filled with surprise. The spirit herbs here could definitely be used to refine a lot of level 3 alchemy pills. One had to know that he had only refined a level 3 alchemy pill, spirit breaking pill. There were many other level 3 alchemy pills that lacked spirit herbs, so he had not tried to refine them. Now that there were so many spirit herbs in the herb hall, as long as he had enough wealth in the future, he would definitely not lack resources. On the third floor, there were several people who were also looking at the spirit herbs. They seemed to be looking for what they needed. One of them, Ling Xiao, recognized him. It was the city lord of Purple Sky City, Lord G. Tuesday. Now that Ling Xiao was an inner disciple, his status was not necessarily lower than G2's. G2 was just an outer sect deacon, and he was one of the outer sect deacons. Therefore, when Ling Xiao saw G2, He only needed to go forward and greet him. This was the basic etiquette of a fellow disciple. Greetings, City Lord Ji Tuesday. Ling Xiao stepped forward and bowed slightly to Ji2, who was looking at a spirit herb. Ji2 did not expect that someone would disturb him at this time. He raised his head and looked at Ling Xiao. He only felt that this young man seemed to be very familiar. You are? Ji2 asked. City Lord Ji2, a noble person has a short memory. I am a disciple who came to participate in the sect election. It was Deacon Ji2 who brought us into the sect. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Oh, I remember, you are the little guy who offended the Lao family. Ji2 was reminded by Ling Xiao and remembered Ling Xiao. At that time, Ling Xiao detained Lao family's Lao Fanren, which left a deep impression on him. Otherwise, he would not remember which disciple Ling Xiao was. After all, there were a lot of disciples who came to participate in the election. I have let City Lord Ji2 see a joke. Ling Xiao replied politely. How is it? Did you participate in the election? Ji2 asked with a slightly dignified tone. He was a dignified sect deacon, and his status was much higher than the newly selected outer disciples. It was already good that he could ask about Ling Xiao's situation. At the same time, he was puzzled. How did this kid get to the third floor? Is he also a VIP of the herb hall? I passed by luck. Ling Xiao did not care about Ji2's attitude and immediately replied casually. Not bad. Ji2 replied indifferently and no longer paid attention to Ling Xiao. His gaze once again fell on a spirit herb on the counter. Ling Xiao followed his gaze and his expression suddenly became happy. It was actually yellow marrow grass. Middle Tier 3 yellow marrow grass was a kind of top-notch spirit grass used to treat broken bones. However, the effect of direct consumption was not obvious. Only when used to refined bone-growing pills could it display its greatest effect. Kuang whose leg can recover. Ling Xiao was secretly happy. He immediately looked at the price and almost fainted from the shock. It was actually as high as 5 million gold coins. That was too expensive. According to Ling Xiao's estimation, spirit herbs used to treat injuries were not as expensive as spirit herbs used to raise profound strength or spirit energy. Who knew that this yellow marrow grass would be so expensive? Even with a discount, it would still cost 3,500,000 gold coins. That was almost all of his gold coins. Do you have anything else? Ji2 slightly frowned and asked Ling Xiao. He felt that Ling Xiao was very unreasonable. He actually kept standing beside him. Could it be that he had something to ask of him? Ling Xiao looked at Ji2 and an idea came to him. He asked him, City Lord Ji2 wants to buy yellow marrow grass? What does that have to do with you? If you don't have anything else, then go away. Don't hinder me. Ji2 was slightly unhappy. A small outer disciple dares to get close to me. He really doesn't know etiquette. Ling Xiao didn't get angry and immediately said, City Lord Ji2, is there someone in your family who is injured? Moreover, is it a bone injury? Ji2 was about to get angry, but when he thought about how Ling Xiao was able to guess his situation with just a yellow marrow grass, he immediately suppressed his anger and lightly said, That's right. Hearing this, Ling Xiao was delighted and his face unconsciously revealed a smile. Ji2 just happened to catch Ling Xiao's expression and immediately angrily said, Brat, what are you planning? I'm telling you, you better not have any crooked thoughts. Otherwise, even if you're an outer disciple, I won't have any problems killing you. No, City Lord Ji2, you misunderstand. I don't have any other intentions. Ling Xiao repeatedly waved his hands. What do you mean? Quickly scram. Otherwise don't blame me for being angry. Ji2 coldly snorted. City Lord Ji2, listen to me. Maybe I can help you get what you want. Ling Xiao said in a low voice. You know what I want? Ji2 disdainfully retorted. Medicinal pills. Ling Xiao very seriously said and then said, Bone-forming pills. This time Ji2 was slightly startled. Seeing Ji2's expression, Ling Xiao knew that he had guessed correctly. He thought to himself, There's hope. Ji2 instantly regained his indifference. So what if you guessed correctly? Could it be that you have a way to get it for me? Ling Xiao was too young, and G2 truly didn't trust him. The bone-forming pill was a third-rank medicinal pill. Who could casually obtain it? Thinking of this, G2's heart dimmed for no reason. City Lord G2, I know you don't trust me, but you should at least trust my master, Nangong Changle. Ling Xiao slightly raised his head, revealing a somewhat arrogant expression. If he didn't act a bit arrogant, G2 might even think that he was lying. Your master is Elder Nangong? This time, G2 was shocked by Ling Xiao's words and couldn't help but speak loudly with excitement. Following that, a muffled voice came from the pavilion. Don't make any noise. This voice penetrated into the depths of one's heart, causing one to feel a sense of timidity. G2 knew that he had lost his composure, so he immediately bowed and said, I'm sorry. Then, he lowered his voice and asked Ling Xiao, You're an inner disciple of Medicine Peak? And a disciple of Elder Nangong? Ling Xiao knew that G2 still didn't believe him. After all, he didn't receive the alchemist's robe from Medicine Peak today. He immediately took out a small medallion and showed it to G2's day. This medallion was the unique medallion of Medicine Peak's inner disciples. Great! G2 couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart and continuously exclaimed in a low voice. Then he respectfully said to Ling Xiao, Little brother, I'm truly sorry. G2 had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive me for offending little brother. G2's 180-degree change really made Ling Xiao somewhat unable to bear it. City Lord G2, please excuse me. We're all from the same sect, and you're also my elder. There's no need to be so polite. Ling Xiao replied appropriately. That's right. By the way, little brother, how should I address you? My boy, Ling Xiao. Good name. Then I'll call you Xiao Xiao from now on. You also don't need to call me City Lord G2. Just call me by my name. G2 praised. He was obviously trying to get close to Ling Xiao. This can't be messed up. How about I call you Elder too? Ling Xiao said while waving his hand. That's fine. Xiao Xiao, just now you said you can get a bone-growing pill. I wonder if you can get one for me? G2 asked with some embarrassment. Just now, his attitude towards Ling Xiao wasn't good. Now that he had a favor to ask, he naturally had to humble himself. Of course you can, but... Ling Xiao hesitated. Chapter 189. Ling Xiao and G2 found a resting area on the side. While sipping on the high-quality wine, they listened to G2 talk about his situation. Sure enough, as Ling Xiao had guessed, G2's family had a relative with a foot problem, and that person was G2's only granddaughter, Ji Beixin. Ji Beixin was born with weak bone marrow and had never been able to stand up since birth. For this reason, G2 had been trying to think of a way to help his granddaughter stand up again. He knew that only the elders of the sect's Medicine Peak could refine high-grade pills for his granddaughter. Perhaps only then would his granddaughter have the chance to stand up again. However, the rules of the Medicine Peak were extremely strict. Those who wanted to refine elixirs had to prepare their own spiritual herbs, and they had to prepare an extra portion at the same time. The extra portion was a reward for the Medicine Peak elder. In addition, as long as they had enough Shen crystals, they could ask the Medicine Peak elder to refine the elixirs for them. Or they could make enough contributions to the sect and accumulate enough points to apply to the sect for the Medicine Peak elder to refine the elixirs for them. G2 had been in the Purple Sky sect for decades, and the conditions he needed were basically enough to meet the requirements of the Medicine Peak elder. It was just that when he applied to the sect for the Medicine Peak elder to refine pills, the Medicine Peak elder did not help him refine pills because they lacked the main medicinal ingredient, the yellow marrow grass. The yellow marrow grass was only a Tier 3 intermediate spirit herb and was not a rare spirit herb. With Medicine Peak's many years of accumulation, it was impossible for it to not have any. In fact, G2 knew that it was just an excuse from Herb Peak, or perhaps it was more appropriate to say that Lu Dong was deliberately making things difficult for them. Because 20 years ago, when G2 had just become the city governor of Violet Sky City, he had once taught a lesson to the current head disciple of the Medicine Peak, Lu Dong. G2 didn't expect Lu Dong to harbor a grudge against him. This time, he had applied to the sect to allow the Medicine Peak Elder to refine the third-grade bone growth pill. Only after Lu Dong's report could he refine the pill for him. Who knew that the result that G2 was waiting for was that the yellow marrow grass was not enough to refine the bone-growing pill for him. Seeing Lu Dong's attitude, G2 knew that Lu Dong had not informed the elders of the refinement peak. In a fit of rage, G2 beat Lu Dong up. Now, Lu Dong had complained to his teacher, Rong Chong. At that time, Lu Dong was quite favored in Medicine Peak, so G2 was out of luck. Medicine Peak announced that they would not refine any pills for G2's day. Even though Zhu Ruchang couldn't fully represent Medicine Peak, his words still carried some weight in Medicine Peak. This matter also led to G2 not being able to enter the sect to become an inner sect deacon, but had always been the city lord of Purple Heaven City. On the surface, the city lord looked boundless, but his status in the sect was not high. G2 could only know his own bitterness. Of course, in the vast northwest, Purple Sky sect was not the only one with a third-grade alchemist. There was also a third-grade alchemist in the nearby Burning Land city. However, this alchemist's appetite was huge. He asked for 500 pieces of low-grade mysterious crystals, and the spirit grass had to be prepared by himself. He also specifically stated that there was no guarantee for refining third-grade pills, because he was not sure that he would succeed 100% of the time. If a furnace of spirit grass was destroyed, he would not be responsible. These conditions almost made G2 choke on his breath. These requirements were really harsh. However, for the sake of his granddaughter, he had to find a way to prepare all the required materials and then think of a way. Unexpectedly, he could meet Ling Xiao in this herb hall today, and Ling Xiao was the personal disciple of the Peak Lord of Medicine Peak. After knowing the news, G2 almost jumped with joy. He knew that as long as he fawned on this young man, his granddaughter's foot might be saved. Ling Xiao deeply sympathized with G2's experience. At the same time, he secretly rejoiced that he had encountered such a good thing. Now it would not be a problem to refine the bone regeneration pill for Li Kuanghu, and he could also save a lot of wealth. Elder 2, this is Lu Dong's fault, but he doesn't have the final say in Medicine Peak. If you trust me, then take me to see your granddaughter first, and then I'll tell my master about this. I believe my master is a reasonable elder. You've done so much for the sect, and even if you haven't done any meritorious deeds, you've worked hard. Moreover, my master is quite agreeable to me, and I'm sure he'll definitely refine a third-level medicinal pill for me. So Elder 2's matter shouldn't be a problem, said Ling Xiao very sincerely. Elder 2, this is Lu Dong's fault, but he doesn't have the final say on Medicine Peak. In that case, thank you very much, little Xiao. If this matter succeeds, Old 2 will definitely reward you greatly. G2 immediately cupped his hands in thanks. Old 2, you're too polite. However, the ugly words must be said first. It's fine for Master to make a move, but you still have to prepare the spirit herbs. After all, I don't know if my master has the spirit herbs for the bone-forming Dan. If he doesn't, then it won't be easy to handle. Ling Xiao first stated. To explain, the bone regeneration pill and the bone regeneration pill were both third-grade pills, but the bone regeneration pill was the upgraded version of the bone regeneration pill, so its effect was naturally more effective and more valuable. However, most people only knew of the existence of the bone regeneration pill, and the bone regeneration pill was recorded in the alchemy method, a pill recipe created by the medicine sect. Therefore, from the beginning, Ling Xiao had guessed that G2 needed the bone regeneration pill, and not the bone regeneration pill. That is only natural. These past few years, I have also gathered a portion of the spirit grass for refining the bone regeneration pill. Now, as long as I can obtain the yellow marrow grass here, it will not be a problem to gather 2 portions of the spirit grass for the bone regeneration pill. G2 replied with a nod. He naturally knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Since he was asking for help, he naturally had to show his sincerity. However, he did not understand Ling Xiao. He did not know if Ling Xiao was another Lu Dong. If he coveted the spirit grass and did not help him refine the pill, then he would be a fool. However, he had no other choice but to take a gamble. If he had really misjudged him, then he could only blame his granddaughter's fate for being unlucky. Ling Xiao could naturally sense G2's doubts, so he immediately requested to see G2's granddaughter. He wanted to see the actual situation and also resolve G2's doubts. Before leaving, G2 still went to buy the yellow marrow grass. Ling Xiao did not stop him. After all, in his eyes, the yellow marrow grass had already fallen into his hands without a doubt. When G2 and Ling Xiao arrived downstairs together, Li Kuanghu and Xia Xianxian came to greet them. G2 looked at the limping Li Kuanghu and frowned. His expression also became gloomy. Ling Xiao naturally caught a glimpse of G2's expression, but he did not pay attention to it. He first let Li Kuanghu take Xia Xianxian back to the courtyard. When Li Kuanghu and Xia Xianxian had just left, G2 asked coldly, "What do you mean?" "Old two, don't be anxious. Let's walk, I will explain to you at the same time," Ling Xiao said very calmly. G2 glanced at him and immediately suppressed the anger in his heart. He led Ling Xiao back to his own home. Ling Xiao then explained to G2 unhurriedly, "Kuanghu is my new servant. He participated in the last outer sect disciple selection and his leg was broken. I think he is a good person, so I plan to let my master refine a bone-growing pill for him. To be honest, I also came to the Spirit Herb Hall today for the yellow marrow grass in your hands. Old two, I don't want to hide anything from you. A batch of third-grade elixirs can be refined into 2 bone-growing pills. It just so happens that I want one, and you want one. Isn't this the best of both worlds? Of course, if old two thinks that I am lying to you, I will leave now. Today you can pretend that you did not see me." After saying that, Ling Xiao was about to turn around and leave without the slightest pretense. After listening to Ling Xiao's explanation, G2 immediately felt relieved, but when he saw that Ling Xiao was about to leave, he became anxious. He took 2 steps forward to block Ling Xiao's path and said, "Xiao, don't be anxious. It's old G, I was wrong. I didn't know what was good for me. Don't take it to heart. Now, let's go back to my place to get the bone-growing pills spiritual herbs. You only need one of the elixirs to refine." Ling Xiao was definitely a disciple of the Herb Peak. That token could not be forged. It just so happened that Ling Xiao appeared in the Herb Hall. This must be a privilege given by the Peak Lord of the Herb Peak. Otherwise, with Ling Xiao's status as an inner disciple, he would not be qualified to go to the 3rd floor. That was a VIP card that required 5 mysterious crystals. Ordinary people really did not have the capital. It should be a coincidence that Ling Xiao met G Tuesday. Moreover, not many people knew that his granddaughter was congenitally disabled. He did not think that Ling Xiao, who had just become an inner disciple, would know. Moreover, if Ling Xiao really wanted to cheat him of the spiritual herbs, he should not have let Li Kuanghu appear in front of him. After listening to Ling Xiao's explanation, he believed that Ling Xiao would not lie to him. On the surface, it seemed that Ling Xiao had taken advantage of one of his elixirs. However, only one elixir could cure his granddaughter's leg. It was useless to take more. Therefore, it did not matter if he gave one more to Ling Xiao. As long as his granddaughter could stand up, then it was all worth it. Of course, Ling Xiao would not really leave. He just wanted to prove that he did not want to lie to G Tuesday. The 2 of them soon arrived at the city lord's mansion. The scale of the buildings here was considered relatively extravagant and majestic in the city. However, this only looked good in the eyes of the secular world. For real martial artists, only places with abundant heaven and earth Lingqi were truly good places. Ling Xiao followed G2 all the way into the mansion. Along the way, there were pavilions, small bridges, flowing water, rockery. The environment was beautiful and extraordinary. Ling Xiao could not help but praise. "Elder 2 is really elegant." G2 knew what Ling Xiao was talking about and immediately replied, "This is all for my granddaughter. She has been autistic since she was young and refused to come into contact with the outside world. I can only make this place look better and let her cultivate her mood." Ling Xiao nodded to show that he understood. When they walked in front of a pavilion, a burst of sound of a zither rang out. G2 waved his hand, indicating for Ling Xiao to stop. The 2 then calmly listened to the song of the zither. The sound of the zither revealed a trickle of sorrow. The rhythm seemed to be able to touch people's hearts. It was as if from this rhythm, a beautiful girl was in a very lonely world. She longed for freedom and happiness, but she did not know how to achieve it. She could only enjoy herself in this lonely world, but no one could understand her pain and sorrow. The song ended. Ling Xiao could not help but burst into tears. He had never thought that there would be someone who could play such a touching melody. He was originally a person with a strong personality, and no matter how serious his injuries were, he would not necessarily cry in pain. However, now that tears were flowing unconsciously, he could clearly feel the loneliness of the other party. Putting himself in her shoes, if he was that lonely person, would he be able to live strong? Perhaps he would rather die than live like that. Let's go over. She is my granddaughter. Jitu wiped the tears from his old eyes and said to Ling Xiao. Chapter 190. Ling Xiao followed Jitu across the bridge of the lotus pond and into the pavilion. He saw a 17 or 18-year-old girl sitting in front of the pavilion with her hands on the zither. Her beautiful eyes were looking at the fish in the lotus pond with a faint smile on her face. It was as if she was happy to see the fish in the pond playing happily, but it was also as if she was mocking herself for not being able to live as freely and happily as these fish. Bei Xin, Grandpa is here to see you. Jitu walked in front of his granddaughter and said in an unusually kind tone. Bei Xin turned around and smiled. Grandpa, you're here, you? When she was about to say something, she saw that behind her grandpa was an unfamiliar young man. For a moment, she was stunned, speechless. Ling Xiao was also stunned. He was stunned by the beauty. Her face is like a finely carved jade face. Those beautiful eyes, that jade-like nose, those pearly white teeth. All of them show the gorgeous Feng Hua, so beautiful that it can make people suffocate. That slightly pale complexion, looking at it can make people's heart break endlessly. Really can't wait to immediately embrace her in her arms and comfort her. She was dressed in a pure white and elegant veil, but it couldn't conceal her exquisite figure. Her alluring charm added a bit of an otherworldly aura to her. She was like a fairy that didn't eat the food of the mortal world, causing people to not have the slightest intention to profane her. Bei Xin's beauty was actually not inferior to Yun Mengqi. Compared to Bai Yuxi, Wei Dyer, Wu Xixue, Yu Lian, she was even more beautiful. Only Yun Mengqi and Bing Ruoxue could compete with her. However, the three of them were like spring orchids and autumn chrysanthemums, each with their own unique flavor. Greetings, Miss Ji, I am Ling Xiao, Ling from Reaching the Nine Heavens, the smile that always smiles. Ling Xiao introduced himself with a smile as if he was bathing in the spring breeze. Bei Xin looked at the handsome and elegant Ling Xiao and couldn't help but blush. Her expression was also quite evasive, as if she didn't dare to look at Ling Xiao directly. Facing this young man, she didn't know why her heart was beating like a deer. Her whole body had an unprecedented feeling of nervousness. From the time she was born until now, she had almost never come into contact with the opposite sex. Usually, she only listened to the maids talking about interesting things between men and women, but she also knew some love stories between men and women. She was thinking, could it be that Grandpa arranged this? Just as she was lost in her thoughts, Jitu interrupted her thoughts and said excitedly, Bei Xin, this is Grandpa's old friend. He has the ability to help you stand up. Really? Really? Bei Xin asked Jitu ecstatically. Before Jitu could say anything, Ling Xiao had already walked over and gently said, Can you let me see Mrs. Jade Feet? If it was someone else, they would have cursed the pervert for breaking through a beauty like this. However, Bei Xin didn't have any schemes at all. Looking at Ling Xiao's sincere and clear eyes, she subconsciously nodded her head and let out a mosquito-like "N." Her pale face actually flushed red, making her look even more beautiful. Ling Xiao very gently took off Bei Xin's cloth shoes, revealing a pair of smooth and delicate jade feet, which looked both petite and delicate, with beautiful jade fingers. Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh in his heart. How unfair God is, to actually make such a perfect woman become a cripple. This is simply too cruel. Ling Xiao gently pinched that light jade foot, and Bei Xin's whole body seemed to have been electrocuted. Her mouth almost let out a shy cry, and her delicate face was lowered to her chest, not daring to look at anyone. I'll go prepare dinner first. G2 glanced at his granddaughter and Ling Xiao, said a sentence and hurriedly left. In the past, his granddaughter would be frightened when she saw strangers, but who would have thought that when Ling Xiao came for the first time, his granddaughter actually didn't have any disgust and even let him see her feet. Even as a grandfather, he didn't have this ability. I hope Xiao Xiao can really get the bone-forming pill. Then even if I let Beixin follow him, it won't be a disgrace to her. G2 sighed in his heart, and his footsteps quickened a bit, leaving the pavilion. Ling Xiao was not a doctor, but he was an alchemist and a martial artist, so he still had a little understanding of the muscle structure of the body. He gently pressed the Yongquan point at the bottom of Ji Beixin's foot, and slightly transferred a bit of Shen Qi to it. Unexpectedly, at this time, the innate Yin wind bead in his sea of consciousness actually emitted a strong suction force. Ah! Ji Beixin seemed to be attracted by a suction force, and there was actually a swelling pain in her foot, causing her to be unable to help but cry out. Ling Xiao didn't know what was going on, and when he wanted to let go of Ji Beixin's foot, he found that his hand was still tightly holding Ji Beixin's jade foot, as if it was out of his control. Immediately after, he felt a strong cold energy surge from Ji Beixin's Yongquan point towards his palm. For a moment, Ling Xiao also couldn't figure out what was going on. He really didn't think that an ordinary woman like Ji Beixin would have such great energy. But when he saw that Ji Beixin's slender white foot had turned gray and black, he felt as if it was poisoned. Could it be that there is evil Yin Qi in her body? Ling Xiao couldn't help but be puzzled. Looking at Ji Beixin's painful expression, Ling Xiao couldn't help but clench his teeth and forcefully cut off the energy absorption. Ling Xiao stood up, only to feel that the Shen Qi in his body had actually increased a bit in a short period of time. This was too inconceivable. Are you okay? Ling Xiao looked at Ji Beixin, whose expression was even paler, and asked softly. I'm fine. Ji Beixin replied with a little stutter. Miss Ji, have you cultivated any Shen Qi before? Ling Xiao saw that Ji Beixin was not abnormal, and immediately changed the topic to ask. No, never cultivated before. Ji Beixin seemed to have a stutter. Even her speech was not fluent. Miss Ji, no, I'll call you Beixin. We are about the same age, it's very suitable to be friends. Oh right, did you feel a lot of pain just now? Ling Xiao tried to get closer to Ji Beixin to understand the situation. It's a little painful. Ji Beixin nodded slightly. Then have your feet felt like this before? No. Then, let's try again, can we? Ling Xiao asked softly. Ji Beixin hesitated for a moment, nodded and turned her pretty face to the side. Since Ji Beixin had not cultivated Shen Qi before, Ling Xiao could almost confirm his thoughts in his heart, and immediately touched Ji Beixin's Yongquan point. The situation just now happened again. His body automatically produced a suction force, and the surface of Ji Beixin's jade foot was suffused with a grayish-black color. It's definitely the baleful Yin Qi. Ling Xiao confirmed his thoughts and immediately allowed his palms to absorb the energy. At the same time, he did not forget to comfort Ji Beixin. Bear with it, it'll be fine soon. Ji Beixin's personality could be considered strong. She gritted her teeth and did not make any sound. Ling Xiao did not expect Ji Beixin to have so much baleful Yin Qi, and only stopped after absorbing for a full hour. When the baleful Yin Qi entered Ling Xiao's body, it did not cause him any harm. Instead, it turned into two streams of energy, one entering his dantian, and the other entering the pre-celestial Yin wind pearl in his sea of consciousness. Ling Xiao had just broken through to the high-level profound realm not long ago. Now that he had absorbed Ji Beixin's baleful Yin Qi, he had actually reached the middle level of the high-level profound realm. This made Ling Xiao feel that it was inconceivable. He never thought that Ji Beixin's body would contain such a sinister energy. It seemed like he had picked up Ping Yi this time. Ling Xiao calmed down the profound energy in his dantian and stood up. Looking at Ji Beixin, who had already fainted, he couldn't help but feel pain. Just now, he was only concerned about absorbing energy and forgot to endure the pain. Ling Xiao took out a pill and stuffed it into her mouth. Then, he infused a few strands of profound energy into her, and only then did she wake up. How do you feel? Ling Xiao asked. Ji Beixin avoided Ling Xiao's gaze and said indifferently, "I'm fine." Ling Xiao looked at Ji Beixin, who was just inches away from him, and his heart was moved. He couldn't help but grab her jade hand and caress it. "Believe me, I can help you stand up again." Ji Beixin's body trembled slightly. She wanted to break free from Ling Xiao's hand, but she discovered that the palm was strong and warm, giving her a sense of trust. She mustered up her courage and raised her head to look at Ling Xiao. She nodded firmly and said, "I believe in you." Ling Xiao grinned. He reached out a hand and brushed away a few strands of hair that had fallen over Ji Beixin's face. He praised, "Beixin, you are so beautiful. Perhaps the heavens are jealous of your beauty, and that's why you can't stand up. But before long, you will be able to defy the heavens. You will be able to walk out of this place and see the world." When Ji Beixin heard this, her expression became yearning. "Can I really do it?" "Of course, as long as you believe me." Ling Xiao replied with certainty. And Ji Beixin replied softly, "Come on, I'll take you to the hall to eat something." Ling Xiao said. He didn't care whether Ji Beixin was willing or not. He directly picked her up by the waist. Ji Beixin didn't resist at all. She obediently hooked her arms around Ling Xiao's neck and gently leaned her head against Ling Xiao's chest. She found that she had completely accepted the existence of Ling Xiao and the feeling of being with him. She felt that he gave her such a sense of trust and security. It was as if she was destined to belong to him completely. Along the way, the servants saw Ling Xiao holding their miss and then looked at their miss's intoxicated look. They were all dumbfounded, as if they had discovered a new continent. When they arrived at the hall, Jitu had been waiting for a long time. When Jitu saw Ling Xiao coming with his granddaughter, he was also shocked by the situation. What's going on? After dinner, Ling Xiao followed Jitu to his study. "Xiao, you can take care of my granddaughter from now on," Jitu said with a satisfied smile. At the dinner just now, he saw his granddaughter's eyes to Ling Xiao. He was almost sure that his granddaughter had been conquered by Ling Xiao. He couldn't help feeling that this guy was really capable. "Old two, don't worry. Beixin will definitely be able to stand up. I've already removed the root cause of her illness." Ling Xiao replied. "Root cause of her illness? What on earth is going on?" Jitu asked in confusion. "The reason why Beixin couldn't stand up after she was born is that there is evil qi in her body," Ling Xiao said. "What? There is evil qi in Beixin's body?" Jitu exclaimed in shock. Chapter 191. That's right. I discovered it when I felt her pulse just now. Fortunately, the baleful qi wasn't very strong, but it had existed in her body since she was young, slowly invading her meridians and bone marrow. That's why she couldn't stand up since she was young. Fortunately, old two, you have been using profound energy and pills to prolong her life. Otherwise, she might have already. Ling Xiao said solemnly. "Sai, I only have one granddaughter, so I naturally don't want anything to happen to her." Jitu sighed and said with a sad expression, "This child lost her parents when she was young, and I really can't bear to let her follow in her parents' footsteps at such a young age. All these years, I have been trying to get a bone-growing pill for her, but now, Bei Xian's happiness depends on you. Xiao Xiao, old Ji, I kneel to you here." After Jitu finished speaking, he actually wanted to kneel to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao hurriedly supported him, not letting him do such a big bow. "Old two, aren't you the little brat Jiesha? Don't worry. Now that the baleful qi has already been expelled by me, I'll refine some nourishing medicinal pills for her to smooth out her meridians. In the future, she'll take a bone-forming pill and she'll definitely be able to stand up again," said Ling Xiao very sincerely. Now, even if Jitu didn't say it, Ling Xiao would still do his best to help Ji Beixin, because his heart was filled with infinite pity for her, just like how he felt for Bai Yushi. Both of them were women made of water, and they needed a man to care for them, not letting them suffer any injuries, and that man, of course, was himself. Ling Xiao had always had a great dream that all men wanted. Awake to control the world, drunk to lie on the knees of beauties, and he had always been working hard in this direction. For a rare beauty like Ji Beixin, If Ling Xiao didn't accept her, then he wouldn't be a man. Of course, his thoughts weren't purely to possess her, but to properly care for her. He felt that such a woman shouldn't be sad, but should always be able to maintain a happy smile and live happily. Ling Xiao asked Jitu to arrange a quiet room and instructed that no one was to disturb him. Then, he walked into the room and began to refine pills. According to Ling Xiao's understanding, Ji Beixin had never cultivated any mysterious techniques, so she was no different from an ordinary person. Moreover, she had been attacked by the baleful Yin Qi for a long time. Now, the baleful Yin Qi had been removed, but the meridians under her legs had suffered a lot of damage. Therefore, like Li Kuanghu, she needed the tendon-warming pill to warm her meridians. Then, she had to refine a furnace of consolidating Qi-Dan to let her recuperate her body first. After refining the tendon and bone regeneration pill, her bone marrow could regenerate and show vitality. Then, recovering would not be a problem. However, Ling Xiao still felt that Ji Beixin was a little strange. He had absorbed Ji Beixin's baleful Yin Qi, but he still felt that her body should still contain profound energy to resist the baleful Yin Qi. Otherwise, it would be impossible for an ordinary person like her to survive until now. Even if Jitu forcefully channeled profound energy, he would not have the ability to do so. Is there some kind of energy sealed in her body? Ling Xiao suddenly had an inconceivable thought. However, it was quickly denied by him. Ji Beixin was disabled from birth. Could it be that the seal started from her mother? This was obviously impossible. Ling Xiao calmed his mind, took out the spirit grass from the space ring, and began to refine pills. Now, Ling Xiao was completely proficient in refining first and second level pills, so it was not a problem to have a 100% success rate. After an hour, Ling Xiao walked out of the room. Jitu had been waiting for a long time. He really did not expect Ling Xiao to be able to refine pills by himself at such a young age. No wonder he could be accepted as a direct disciple by the Peak Lord of Medicine Peak. However, when he saw that Ling Xiao gave him a first-level consolidating Qi-Dan and a second-level tendon-warming pill, he could not help but be dumbfounded. He never thought that Ling Xiao was actually a second-level alchemist. This was too young. This time, Jitu was even more certain that Ling Xiao would not lie to him. In his heart, he felt that he must properly befriend Ling Xiao. He felt that Ling Xiao's future was absolutely bright. Not only was he a second-level alchemist, his strength was also already at a high-level mystic cultivator. How old was he? A second-level alchemist who was not even 20, and a high-level mystic cultivator. These two identities were enough to make anyone pay attention to him. After Ling Xiao handed the pills to Jitu, he did not stay any longer and prepared to leave. Jitu was naturally tactful, and handed over the 2 sets of bone-forming pills that he had prepared earlier to Ling Xiao. Beixin will be relying on you, Jitu instructed very seriously. Don't worry, Elder Tu. I will definitely bring you good news within a month. Ling Xiao received the spirit grass and said very seriously. Now that the spirit grass needed to refine the bone-forming pill was all gathered, Ling Xiao could completely refine the pill immediately. However, he still did not want Jitu to know his identity as a third-level alchemist. In case it was spread out, it would shock the world. Moreover, he had to go to the Wooden Flag Peak to cultivate in the next half of the month. He had no time to refine pills, so it would not be too late to refine it when he returned to the Medicine Peak. After leaving the city lord's residence, Ling Xiao did not immediately rush back to the sect. After all, he had promised Xia Xianxian that he would go back to accompany her. Xia Xianxian was really clingy to Ling Xiao and played for half the night. Only after Ling Xiao repeatedly coaxed her to go to bed, and she also wanted Ling Xiao to accompany her before she was willing to sleep. Ling Xiao was also very doting towards her, and only after Xia Xianxian fell asleep did he walk out of the room. The moonlight shone on the courtyard, and the low cries of unknown insects and beasts in the surroundings made the courtyard seem especially quiet. Li Kuanghu was drinking wine at the stone table under the tree, and his expression was extremely lonely. When Ling Xiao walked out, he still very respectfully stood up. Before he could say anything, Ling Xiao said, "Kuanghu, I already said, there is no outsider. There is no need to be so polite. Come, let us brothers drink together." Ling Xiao walked to the stone table, picked up a pot of wine, and poured it down his throat. A fishy and spicy taste flowed into his lungs. Good wine. Come, let's do it. Ling Xiao could not help but shout. Li Kuanghu's body and mind warmed, and he also raised the wine pot in his hand and clinked it with Ling Xiao, and also began to drink wildly. After drinking for 30 minutes, Ling Xiao said to Li Kuanghu, "All the spirit grass for the bone-forming pill have been gathered. At most, in a month, you will be able to return to normal." Pa! Really? The wine bottle in Li Kuanghu's hand unconsciously fell from his hand, and he looked at Ling Xiao in surprise. "Originally, I could have refined it for you now, but I have to rush back to the sect as soon as possible. You just have to bear with it," said Ling Xiao. Refining a third-grade pill was not as simple as refining a first-grade pill. A third-grade pill had already entered the grade, and could already be called a miraculous pill. Not only did it need to refine a large number of auxiliary spirit grass, but it also needed to divide the beast core, which consumed a lot of energy and required a very long time. It was absolutely impossible to casually refine a third-grade pill, or else it would be disturbed. Not only would it waste a lot of spirit grass, but it would also consume one's own energy and energy. "Thank you, young master. Thank you, young master." Li Kuanghu was overjoyed, and excitedly knelt to thank Ling Xiao. His leg had been injured for a few years, and it would recover in a month. How could he not be happy? How could he not be excited? Ling Xiao calmly accepted Li Kuanghu's bow, and then said, "Get up. Recovering your leg is the first step. I will help you break through to the Spirit Master level in the shortest time possible. In the future, you will be responsible for taking care of Xian. You must remember to follow me. I will not treat you unfairly. Perhaps one day you will be glad that you chose to follow me." Ling Xiao raised his head to look at the beautiful moon, and said in an unusually calm tone, his tiger-like eyes emitting a resolute expression. Li Kuanghu looked at Ling Xiao, who was a few years younger than him, and he did not know why a deep sense of admiration arose in his heart. "In this life, I will only follow young master, and I will never be disloyal," Li Kuanghu secretly said in his heart. On the morning of the next day, before the sky had even brightened, Ling Xiao took advantage of the fact that Xia Xianxian had not yet woken up and hurried back to the sect. Earlier, Ling Xiao had become the disciple of two masters, the Peak Lord of the Medicine Peak, Nangong Changle, and the Wood Flag Peak's Mu Huai. He had agreed to stay at the Medicine Peak for the first half of the month to learn alchemy, and the second half of the month to cultivate profound energy at the Wood Flag Peak. The Purple Sky sect was vast, and the Wood Flag Peak was one of the 9 main peaks. The mountain where it was located was not inferior to the other 9 peaks, and the spirit chi was even denser. The towering trees were verdant and lush, and unknown wildflowers and weeds could be seen everywhere. If one looked carefully, they would also find that there were many low-level spirit grass growing. This was a treasure land with a relatively abundant wood spirit chi. Ling Xiao strolled along the way, and from time to time, he would admire the beautiful scenery on the road, feeling very relaxed. The reason why he agreed to become Mu Huai's disciple was because he did not have a wood attribute cultivation technique, and his body was 100% wood attribute cultivation technique. If he did not cultivate it, it would definitely be a very big loss. As the saying goes, don't bite off more than you can chew. However, Ling Xiao had very strong confidence that such a situation would not occur. With the purity of his attribute being so high, cultivating would be twice the result with half the effort. Even if he were to multitask, it would not take up too much time. Moreover, he had always boasted that he was an exceptional genius, and there were not many things in the world that were difficult to obtain. In reality, he himself understood that Lu Wang, who existed in his sea of consciousness, would definitely be very happy to see him cultivate the wood attribute. After all, Lu Wang needed to recover his energy, so he had to absorb wood attribute spirit chi. Right now, he was in Ling Xiao's body, so his absorption speed was not fast. If Ling Xiao could break through to Spirit Master level and start to absorb Spirit Chi, it would not only be beneficial to himself but also to Lu Wang. Just as they were halfway up Wooden Flag Peak, 2 disciples walked out from a hidden mound. "Who are you?" one of the disciples shouted. Ling Xiao slightly cupped his hands, then took out the token in his bosom and said, I am Ling Xiao, a disciple of this year. I am entering the peak to see Master Mu. So it's Senior Ling Xiao, the Peak Lord has already given orders. Please follow me. When the two disciples heard Ling Xiao say his name, they immediately revealed respectful expressions and bowed at the same time. Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment, then revealed a proud expression and followed one of the outer sect disciples up the mountain. However, he did not notice that the disciple who did not follow behind him revealed a strange and sinister smile. Chapter 192. The more Ling Xiao followed that disciple, the more he felt that something was wrong. Why were they always walking on a narrow and winding path instead of the main path? Could it be that Master Mu has a hobby of seclusion? Ling Xiao couldn't help but wonder. The further they walked, the more desolate the place became. Ling Xiao felt more and more uneasy. Junior brother, where are you taking me? Ling Xiao stood still and asked. The outer sect disciple smiled. Senior brother, don't be anxious. The Peak Lord is cultivating not far from here. We'll be there soon. His words were evasive, and Ling Xiao had already noticed something was wrong. Let's see what you can do. Ling Xiao became vigilant. At the same time, he disdainfully thought to himself. An annoying figure appeared in his mind. After walking for a short while, he arrived at a cliff on the mountain peak. It was still early in the morning, and there was still a white mist lingering around the mountain. The mist in front of the cliff was even thicker. We're here, right? Call him out, I'll wait. Ling Xiao crossed his arms in front of his chest. How could this possibly be the place where the wooden flag Peak's peak master cultivated? It was obvious that someone had come looking for trouble. He had only offended one person on Wooden Flag Peak. Needless to say, that person was definitely here for revenge. As expected, just as Ling Xiao finished speaking, the sound of hurried footsteps came from behind him. Ling Xiao turned around and saw that it was none other than Lao Fanren. Hee hee, brat, we meet again. Lao Fanren laughed evilly at Ling Xiao. Beside him were the people who had been taught a lesson by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao calmly looked at Lao Fanren and said, Convict Lao, no? I should respectfully call you senior convict. Don't you know that internal strife is forbidden within the same sect? Aren't you afraid of being punished by Master? Humph, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you've won Master's favor. Let me ask you, did you kill my cousin? Lao Fanren coldly snorted. Your cousin? Who is it? I've killed countless people, so how would I know which Tom, Dick, or Harry you're talking about? Ling Xiao asked sarcastically, but in his heart he was puzzled. Why is this guy suspecting me? Lao Fanren's younger cousin was Lao Fanqing. Not long ago, during the Purple Maple Valley's training, he tried to do something to Wu Sixue and was eaten by the Golden Wolf King. Ling Xiao believed that no one would know that he was the one who ordered it. After all, when he came to the Purple Heaven City or the Purple Heaven Sect, he did not let anyone know that he had a spirit beast to protect him. Sharp-tongued bastard, it doesn't matter if you killed him or not. You must die today. Surround him and do not let him escape. Lao Fanren bellowed. He took out his profound level iron rod and smashed it towards Ling Xiao. Lao Fanren did not dare to be careless. He knew that Ling Xiao's speed was extremely fast, so he used 10% of his strength right from the start. He was determined to kill Ling Xiao. In any case, even if he killed Ling Xiao here, no one else would know. To be honest, it was just an excuse for him to accuse Ling Xiao of killing his cousin. The main reason was that Ling Xiao had saved Li Kuanghu and offended him in front of so many people. He couldn't swallow it. Originally, he did not want to kill Ling Xiao either. After all, his master had already accepted Ling Xiao as his disciple, and they could be considered to be fellow disciples. The sect strictly forbade internal strife, unless it was a grudge that could not be resolved. One could apply to the sect for a life-and-death battle. However, just 2 days ago, someone offered a heavy reward for Ling Xiao's life. This heavy reward was extremely tempting to him. After several considerations, he still decided to take the risk. When Ling Xiao was a middle-stage mystic cultivator, he was not afraid of a high-stage mystic cultivator. Although Lao Fanren relied on the power of his profound-level weapon, Ling Xiao relied on the speed of the wind attribute. Dodging his attack was no problem at all. Moreover, he had already advanced to a high-stage mystic cultivator, and his strength was only higher than Lao Fanren's. Defeating Lao Fanren was just a matter of raising his hand. After Ling Xiao deftly dodged Lao Fanren's attack, he clearly felt that the opponent was going to kill him. If that's the case, then don't blame me. Ling Xiao frowned. Using Cloud Phantom Shadow, he circled to Lao Fanren's back and attacked with a few rows of palm shadows. Pa! Lao Fanren was slapped a few meters away, but he was not injured at all. Oh right, I forgot that he still has a defensive inner armor. Ling Xiao just remembered that Lao Fanren was originally wearing a defensive inner armor. When he had just entered the sect, he had already experienced it. This brat is too strange. I have to finish this battle quickly. If I delay, there will be changes and it will be troublesome. Lao Fanren suppressed his surging aura and thought to himself. He pinched a storm pill in his hand and swallowed it. Attack together. Get rid of him. After Lao Fanren swallowed the pill, he called for his companions to surround and attack Ling Xiao. He knew that it would be difficult to get rid of Ling Xiao by himself in a short period of time, but he did not believe that Ling Xiao would be able to escape under the siege of so many people. He did not know that Ling Xiao had never thought of escaping. Just based on the few people here, he really did not put them in his eyes. Come, let's just treat it as a morning exercise. Ling Xiao's tiger eyes flashed with brilliance, and his aura was released completely. The few people around him brandished their Shen Qi and charged at Ling Xiao. The profound weapon in Lao Fanren's hand condensed the strongest power and swung out a ray of solid rod light. It was like a falling tree trunk, smashing towards Ling Xiao. Facing the numerous attacks, Ling Xiao turned into a few afterimages and attacked those with the weakest abilities at the periphery. Palm shadows flew, and whip kicks were traceless. Boom boom. The incoming people did not know what happened, and they were heavily injured by Ling Xiao. Here, only Lao Fanren was a high-level mystic cultivator, and the others were only mid-level mystic cultivators. Moreover, Ling Xiao attacked with all his might, and everyone fell to the ground in one move. Lao Fanren did not expect that Ling Xiao's speed was so fast that the people he brought actually fell before they could even react. He was shocked for a moment, but he had already shed all pretense of cordiality, and definitely could not back down now. 10,000 Vine Kill. Lao Fanren used his strongest killer move, and both his hands held the rod weapon tightly. Rays of green light appeared, and his aura directly approached the peak of a high-level mystic cultivator. Whoosh! The rod light smashed towards Ling Xiao, and that rod light actually turned into countless green vines, wrapping and cutting towards Ling Xiao. This move came too quickly and too suddenly, and when Ling Xiao sent the last person flying, it was already too late to dodge. Rumble! Phew, he must be dead now. Lao Fanren exclaimed softly, a little exhausted. That move just now had already used up all his profound energy, and it was his strongest move. If I have to die, it will be you who dies first. Ling Xiao bounced up from the ground, wiped the bloodstain at the corner of his mouth, and stared fiercely at Lao Fanren. Fortunately, the defense of the Vajra 5 transformation art was not bad, or else he would really be dead under this move. You're actually fine? Lao Fanren said in disbelief. I'm fine, I'm seriously fine. You actually injured me. I will return it to you properly. Ling Xiao twisted his neck and said, and instantly appeared in front of Lao Fanqing. A punch was thrown out, very direct and simple. Smack! Lao Fanren's nose broke with a sound. Damn! You actually want to kill me? Ling Xiao was furious. He did not want to be enemies, but trouble always came to him. Ling Xiao seized Lao Fanren's rod weapon, and then punched Lao Fanren's face. Lao Fanren did not have a chance to counterattack, and in just a moment, he was beaten into a pig's head. His screams resounded through the forest. Ling Xiao stepped on Lao Fanren's face and said coldly, You say, should I kill you? If you have the guts, kill me. Our Lao family will not let you go. Lao Fanren had some backbone, and was not afraid of Ling Xiao's threat. Good, very good. Since you have the guts, then die. Ling Xiao responded twice, and the rod in his hand smashed towards Lao Fanren's head. No. Don't. It's not that I want to kill you. It's that someone wants to buy your life. Lao Fanren, under the threat of death, completely collapsed, and could not help but cry out. He could feel that Ling Xiao could really kill him, that strong killing intent was too real. Ling Xiao stopped, and said with a frown, "Are you trying to replace me? In the sect, other than you who wanted to kill me, I really haven't offended anyone else." No, this is true. It was Lu Dong who promised to give me a third-rank pill to help me break through to the Spirit Master level. The condition was that I had to kill you before you entered Wood Flag Peak, so I planned to kill you. Please let me go, I won't dare to do it again. Lao Fanren continuously explained as he begged for mercy. Lu Dong? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he murmured. He and Lu Dong only had a disagreement once, and it was not a big deal. Was he going to kill him because of that? However, even if it was Lu Dong's instigation, Lao Fanren still had the intention to kill. If it wasn't for his hard hand, he would have died here. Moreover, he had promised to avenge Li Kuanghu, so he absolutely could not let him off lightly. Ling Xiao extended his claws, and his hand directly slapped Lao Fanren's chest. Pooh! Lao Fanren was shaken to the point of spitting out a mouthful of blood. Scram! If it wasn't for the fact that we are from the same sect, I definitely would not let you go so easily. I'll take this profound artifact. Ling Xiao kicked Lao Fanren again as he spoke. Lao Fanren climbed up from the ground with difficulty, and unwillingly looked at Ling Xiao before dragging his heavily injured body away. He was extremely unwilling. That staff was a profound artifact that was rewarded to him by his family, and it was what he relied on to fight against his enemies. Now that it was taken by Ling Xiao, he would not let this matter go so easily. However, he did not know that he did not have long to live. The palm that Ling Xiao had just slapped on his chest had already passed a trace of innate in-wind evil qi over. This innate in-wind evil qi was even more tyrannical than the one in Ji Beixin's body. It was just like Li Yang's yang poison, which could survive in Lao Fanren's body until his internal organs were completely destroyed and he died. Ling Xiao did not care about the life and death of this kind of person. Could it be that others were allowed to kill him but not him? This was absolutely impossible. However, Ling Xiao had taken away Lao Fanren's profound artifact, which caused him to cause quite a bit of trouble in the future. Chapter 193. After a small disturbance, Ling Xiao finally saw Mu Huai under the guidance of other disciples. Mu Huai saw that Ling Xiao's clothes were torn and there were many wounds on him. Blood was still flowing, so he nervously asked Ling Xiao what was going on. Ling Xiao truthfully told Mu Huai the cause and effect of the matter, and wanted to see what his cheap master's attitude was. Outrageous! As a senior brother, Lao Fanren openly committed murder in the peak and went against the sect's decree. Looks like he needs to be properly punished. Mu Huai's eyes revealed a displeased expression, and he slammed the table heavily as he shouted angrily. Ling Xiao was a good disciple that he had painstakingly gotten. On the first day he came to the peak, he was almost killed by Lao Fanren. He wanted to immediately strangle Lao Fanren to death. Although Lao Fanren was also one of his beloved disciples, in front of Ling Xiao's 100% pure wood attribute, he was a little unsightly. Moreover, he did not feel satisfied with any of the disciples in the sect. Now, there was one that he was satisfied with, but he was almost killed. It would be strange if he was not angry. Ling Xiao was satisfied with Mu Huai's attitude, so he reluctantly recognized him as a cheap master. Actually, this can't be blamed on senior brother Lao. I believe that he was also instigated by someone to be so biased against disciples. Ling Xiao said to Mu Huai vaguely. Mu Huai looked at Ling Xiao with satisfaction and said, "It would be great if your senior brother Lao was as broad-minded as you are. Don't worry, I will make the decision for you. Those outer disciples will have all their Shen Qi destroyed and be expelled from the sect. As for your senior brother Lao, he will be punished to face the wall for 3 years." Lao Fanren was his disciple after all, and he was also an inner sect disciple. He was still useful to Wood Flag Peak, and he had to give some face to the Lao family. Furthermore, Ling Zhao's words had given him a way out of this embarrassing situation. He was even more satisfied with Ling Xiao, and he thought to himself, "This kid knows how to conduct himself. It looks like my Wooden Flag Peak is going to prosper soon." After Mu Huai ordered the warden to give his order, he personally brought Ling Xiao to arrange his residence. With Mu Huai's status, there was naturally no need for him to personally bring Ling Xiao there. However, he still had matters to discuss with Ling Xiao in detail, so he brought him along on the way. When they arrived at Ling Xiao's residence, Mu Huai let him go in and change into a set of Wood Flag Peak's martial robes before lecturing him. Ling Xiao, under our Wood Flag Peak, there are a total of 65 inner sect disciples. Compared to the other peaks, the number of inner sect disciples is below average. Every 2 years, the sect will hold a little competition among the inner sect disciples to determine the difference between the peaks. The overall strength of our Wood Flag Peak's disciples is not as good as the other peaks, which is why I am so eager for you to join my Wood Flag Peak. With your talent and my careful training, you will definitely be able to break through to the Spirit Master level within 2 to 3 years. Within 15 years, there is hope for you to become a king. The future of my Wood Flag Peak rests on you. Mu Huai patted Ling Zhao's shoulder as he spoke. His eyes revealed a kind and yearning expression. After breaking through to the Spirit Master level in 2 to 3 years, Ling Xiao would only be in his early 20s. Within 15 years, he would be able to become a king, which would be in his 30s. In the entire Northwest region, those who could break through to the king level in their 30s were practically existences that were as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. Within the Purple Sky sect, almost every king-level expert was already 100 years old. Only the sect master's daughter, Yun Mingqi, was able to reach her current strength of half a step into the king level because she had obtained an Earth Emperor level inheritance. Moreover, Yun Mingqi's Tenbin was also extremely high. It was believed that it wouldn't be long before she would become a super genius who would break through to the king level before the age of 25. A fortuitous encounter like Yun Mingqi's was not something that just anyone could obtain. As for Ling Xiao, he was a pure wood attribute cultivator, so there definitely wouldn't be too many obstructions in cultivating the wood attribute. As long as he accumulated to a certain extent, he would naturally be able to break through. That was why Mu Huai was so confident in saying such words. Ling Xiao will definitely not disappoint Master's expectations and wholeheartedly cultivate. In the future, I will spread the name of my Wood Flag Peak, Ling Xiao said solemnly. Good, good. How good would it be if you only belonged to my Wood Flag Peak? Your cultivation speed would definitely be doubled, Mu Huai said with emotion. He had always wanted to induce Ling Xiao to give up learning alchemy and only join his Wood Flag Peak. This would be even more perfect. Master, you don't have to worry. In the future, not only will I become a high-grade alchemist, I will also become a powerful martial artist. In this way, I can spread the name of my Wood Flag Peak, and I can also refine medicinal pills for the disciples under the peak. This will benefit our peak, so what's wrong with that? Ling Xiao tried to persuade Mu Huai instead. Mu Huai pondered for a moment, then smiled and said, All right, it's good that you can think like this. Now that you've joined my peak, I will pass on a set of mysterious techniques to you for you to cultivate. I will pass on the chant to you now, so remember it well. Mu Huai sat down cross-legged and began to recite the chant. Ling Xiao restrained his thoughts, sat down cross-legged as well, and began to silently memorize the chant. When Ling Xiao repeatedly imprinted the chant in his mind, when he opened his eyes again, he found that Mu Huai was no longer there. Invisible Wood Technique, Illusory 7 Kills. It sounds quite domineering, but I don't know how powerful it is, Ling Xiao muttered. The mysterious technique that Mu Huai had just passed on to him was called Invisible Wood Technique, and it also had the accompanying mysterious technique, Illusory 7 Kills. This technique was the highest rank technique of Wood Flag Peak, and it was a top-grade green rank technique. At the foot of Wood Flag Peak, there were only a few disciples who could obtain this set of Invisible Wood Technique that Mu Huai had personally passed on. It was clear that Mu Huai attached great importance to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao originally cultivated at Wood Flag Peak. After Mu Huai passed on the invisible wood technique to him, he began to cultivate in seclusion. For 7 consecutive days, Ling Xiao did not step out of his residence. After 7 days of comprehension, he already understood how to cultivate the invisible wood technique, and he also knew the true essence of the invisible wood technique. The so-called wood concealment technique was just like its name. When one cultivated to the highest realm of the wood concealment technique, one would be able to transform into a tree and conceal within the bushes of trees without being noticed by others. Coupled with the profound skill illusion 7 slaughter, one would absolutely be able to defeat and assassinate one's enemies by surprise. However, why did Ling Xiao feel that this seemed to be a kind of assassination technique? He always felt that this technique was somewhat lacking, as if it was just an honorable. After Ling Xiao's comprehension, he came to the conclusion that cultivating the invisible wood technique had 2 great benefits. First, wood attribute techniques possessed some healing functions. Although it was not as obvious as the water attribute and light attribute, it did indeed exist. Second, it allowed one to be concealed in the bushes at any place. When he thought of a beautiful woman bathing in the middle of a lake, he could hide in the bushes nearby and peep without being discovered by others. Wouldn't that be great? If Mu Huai knew that Ling Xiao actually cultivated this mysterious technique that he was so proud of, in order to peep at a beautiful woman bathing, he would probably be so angry that he would vomit blood on the spot. Thinking of this, Ling Xiao had the motivation to cultivate. Next, he operated his Shen energy according to the cultivation formula and began to cultivate the invisible wood technique. Just like that, a few days passed. These days, Ling Xiao was intoxicated by the pleasure of cultivating the invisible wood technique. He felt that this invisible wood technique was really easy to cultivate. He had only cultivated for a few days, but the Shen energy in his body had an obvious growth. This speed was a little too fast. At the same time, he was comprehending the illusory 7 kills sword technique. This illusory 7 kills had to be matched with the invisible wood technique in order to display its extraordinary power. However, Ling Xiao felt that this illusory 7 kills could be used for assassination. For a real frontal attack, it was really not as good as his 3 moves of Sword Tyrant and 6 secrets of Unyielding Snow. Now, Ling Xiao had stayed on Wooden Flag Peak for almost half a month. Apart from cultivating from day to night, he basically had very little contact with the outside world. Another night, he sat cross-legged outside the house and operated his Shen energy to cultivate the invisible wood technique. The Shen energy in his body flowed along a certain path between his meridians. At this time, in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, a small tree was emitting an emerald green light. This little guy is beginning to understand how to use my origin attribute. This is great. Lu Wang, who was in the small tree, said to himself excitedly. Then, he closed his old eyes and began to recover his vitality. Under his roots, he continuously absorbed the Shen energy that Ling Xiao had transformed into the wood attribute. Ling Xiao did not know that the Shen energy that he had painstakingly strengthened had been split into 2, and half of it had been absorbed by Lu Wang in his sea of consciousness. After cultivating at Wooden Flag Peak for half a month, Ling Xiao was preparing to leave for Herb Peak when Mu Huai appeared. Disciple greets master. Ling Xiao greeted Mu Huai. Forget it, Mu Huai said, then asked, how is your comprehension of the invisible wood technique? If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask master now. Master, I've finished comprehending the invisible wood technique. Disciple has already begun to cultivate it. Ling Xiao replied, you've already cultivated it? Mu Huai asked in surprise. Yes. Ling Xiao replied with a nod. Let me see, Mu Huai said, then immediately grabbed Ling Xiao's hand and began to examine the Shen energy in Ling Xiao's body. Good, I didn't expect your comprehension to be so good. You can go back. Remember not to forget to cultivate the invisible wood technique when you return to Herb Peak. Okay? Mu Huai happily instructed. Ling Xiao bowed towards Mu Huai, then went down the mountain. Mu Huai looked at Ling Xiao's young figure, stroked his beard, and said to himself, this kid is even more outstanding than I imagined. There's hope for our peak to rise. When Ling Xiao returned to Herb Peak, he first went to greet his master, Nangong Changle, before returning to the bamboo forest. When he returned to the bamboo forest, he couldn't help but nag with Hua Xiaogui again. After half a month of hard work, Hua Xiaogui's cloud-dispersing force profound strength had an obvious increase, and he had reached the middle stage of a middle-stage profound practitioner. It seemed that it wouldn't be long before he could break through to a high-stage profound practitioner. For this, Ling Xiao felt happy for him. This kid was actually willing to calm down and cultivate. When Ling Xiao returned to his residence, he first took a bath and then had a good night's sleep. After that, he began to adjust his state of mind to refine the bone-replenishing pill. Before Ling Xiao went to refine the pill, he specifically told Hua Xiaogui not to disturb him. Only then did he feel at ease to refine the pill. From G2, Ling Xiao had obtained 2 rank 3 water attribute beast dawn, as well as yellow marrow grass and some other auxiliary spirit grasses. These were the 2 sets of bone-forming pills that G2 had prepared beforehand. Furthermore, he had the ox tendon vine and some other auxiliary spirit grasses. Refining the upgraded version of the bone-forming pill, the muscle and bone-forming pill, was no longer a problem. Whether Li Kuang and Ji Beixin's legs could recover depended on Ling Xiao's actions. Chapter 194. On Herb Peak, in the midst of the bamboo forest, in an alchemy room filled with the fragrance of medicine, a young man was throwing second-tier spiritual herbs into the medicine cauldron from time to time. Flames danced in his hands, dazzling people. The flames were sometimes big and sometimes small. The spiritual herbs withered, and the medicinal essence was extracted bit by bit. After a round of refinement, Ling Xiao's forehead was covered with fine sweat, but his expression was still abnormally serious. After all the spiritual herbs had been completely refined, a water attribute beast core appeared in Ling Xiao's hands. This water attribute beast core was a mid-tier third-tier beast core. It was emitting a faint blue halo and contained a powerful energy within it. After Ling Xiao took 2 qi returning pills, he threw the beast core into the medicine cauldron. Pong! The intense flames instantly surged, burning the surroundings of the medicine cauldron. A formless mental strength drilled out of his sea of consciousness, turning into the shape of a sharp blade. It incessantly cut and separated the 2 fist-sized beast cores in order to speed up the refinement. After an unknown amount of time, the energy of the beast cores was completely separated. It's time! Ling Xiao gently took a breath and took 2 more elixirs. The flames in his hands were at full force, and his mental strength wrapped around the medicine cauldron at the same time. All the spiritual herb essence and the energy of the beast cores in the medicine cauldron were instantly kneaded together, producing a strong mass of air in the middle of the medicine cauldron. The mass of air became more and more solid. Condense. Pong! A muffled sound came from the medicine cauldron, and a white smoke rose. 2 smooth and flawless elixirs appeared in front of him. Phew! I finally succeeded. Ling Xiao wiped the fine sweat on his forehead, and immediately kept the 2 bone and marrow replenishing pills. The elixirs had been refined, but Ling Xiao's mental strength was extremely exhausted. He immediately took out the elixirs and returned to his room to meditate. Following the completion of the elixirs, Ling Xiao's mood was also a lot more relaxed. However, he still remembered one thing in his heart. If he didn't resolve this matter as soon as possible, he wouldn't feel too comfortable. That was what Lao Fanren had said. Lu Dong, this despicable person, actually wanted to sell his life. Regardless of whether it was true or not, he had to find out sooner or later. However, Ling Xiao wandered aimlessly around Medicine Peak for a few days in a row, but did not find any trace of Lu Dong. After asking around, he found out that Lu Dong had been sent by the sect to a remote city to handle some matters. You're lucky, but I'll have to get my revenge eventually, Ling Xiao sighed inwardly. Another half a month at Medicine Peak passed by quickly. During his days in Medicine Peak, he would study alchemy when he had nothing to do. Occasionally, he would discuss alchemy with Hua Xiaogui. Nangong Changle would also frequently appear to impart some insights into alchemy to them. Ling Xiao was becoming more and more proficient in the art of alchemy. When night fell, Ling Xiao began to cultivate the invisible wood art. At the same time, he also began to study the raging flame finger technique from the Li family. His days were very fulfilling. Hua Xiaogui saw that Ling Xiao was so hardworking and was also affected. He became more focused and continued to cultivate the cloud-expelling force day and night, hoping to make a breakthrough as soon as possible. In the middle of the month, Ling Xiao went down the mountain again. This time, Hua Xiaogui was determined to follow Ling Xiao out no matter what. After staying on Medicine Peak for a month and a half, he was almost bored out of his mind. Ling Xiao could not dissuade him, so he could only bring him down the mountain together. After going down the mountain, Ling Xiao went straight to his courtyard. He had not seen Xia Xianxian for a month, and this little girl seemed to have grown a little taller. Ling Xiao knew that this little girl had suffered a lot in the past. She had not been able to absorb nutrients, which led to her stunted growth. Now that the conditions were better, her growth speed had become obvious. Ling Xiao let Hua Xiaogui play with Xia Xianxian in the courtyard, while he called Li Kuanghu into the house. This is the bone and muscle replenishing pill. Ling Xiao handed a pill to Li Kuanghu and said. Li Kuanghu trembled as he took the pill from Ling Xiao, and then he could not wait to swallow the pill. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. Ling Xiao no longer paid attention to him and walked out of the house. He believed that it would not be long before Li Kuanghu could recover to his original state. After half an hour, "Haha, my foot is finally healed." Li Kuanghu's exclamation came from the room. After solving Li Kuanghu's matter, Ling Xiao went to the city lord's mansion alone. Hua Xiaogui took Xia Xianxian and Li Kuanghu to stroll around the Purple Sky sect to relax his nerves. When Jitu saw Ling Xiao again, he was so excited that he could not speak. Ling Xiao did not break his promise. Ling Xiao walked into the city lord's mansion again. Jitu only told Ling Xiao where Ji Beixin was, and then let him find her himself. Ding dong! Ding ding dong! It was another melodious tune that intoxicated everyone. This melody was clearly different from the last time. There seemed to be a vague sense of longing in this melody. At the same time, there was also a sense of loneliness, and there was a sense of cheerful joy. After the song was played, a clear voice like an oriole leaving the valley sounded, "Are you here?" Ling Xiao walked across the bridge and entered the pavilion. Looking at the slender figure, he said softly, "It's me." Ji Beixin turned her delicate face over. Her originally pale face was suffused with a faint flush as she looked at Ling Xiao. Her eyes were filled with endless tenderness. Ling Xiao squatted down and held her hand. He said softly, "I've made you wait for a long time." Ji Beixin slightly raised the corner of her mouth. Her expression was simply too beautiful to behold. She said, "No matter how long I wait, I know you will definitely come." Ling Xiao replied softly. He took out the muscle and bone regeneration pill and handed it over to her. "You can stand up today." Ji Beixin's beautiful eyes shone with excitement, but she quickly calmed down and said, "Thank you. There's no need to thank me between us." Ling Xiao replied. After Ji Beixin consumed the pill, she could not jump up like Li Kuanghu. After all, her situation was different from Li Kuanghu's. She was innately attacked by the baleful Yin Qi, causing her legs to be crippled. Although she had the muscle and bone regeneration pill to recover her tendons and feet, she was still unable to immediately walk or run. However, it was true that he could already stand up. In the future, as long as he practiced walking more, he should be no different from an ordinary person. Seeing that his granddaughter was able to stand up, Jitu was so excited that his old eyes were filled with joy. He continuously thanked Ling Xiao. Back then, he only said thank you on the surface. He took out a few level 3 spirit grass and 20 low-grade profound crystals and gave them to Ling Xiao as compensation. Ling Xiao did not stand on ceremony and kept the spirit grass and profound crystals. Among them, he discovered that there was a spirit grass that was of great use to him, which made him overjoyed. A day passed quickly. Before leaving the city lord's mansion, Ji Beixin was reluctant to part with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao knew that this girl had already fallen deeply in love with him, but he had no time to make any promises to Ji Bei-shin right now. He could only helplessly tell her that he would come to see her often before leaving the city lord's mansion. Returning to the Purple Heaven sect, Ling Xiao went straight to the Wooden Flag Peak. In the Wooden Flag Peak, everyone knew that Ling Xiao was the beloved disciple of the Peak Lord, so no one dared to plot against Ling Xiao. As for Lao Fanren, who had plotted against Ling Xiao, he died for no reason. This made others stay away from Ling Xiao, as if they all felt that this matter was related to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao did not take this to heart. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao had already been in the Purple Heaven sect for a year. During this year, Ling Xiao spent half of his time in the Medicine Peak and the other half in the Wooden Flag Peak. Occasionally, he would go to the city to visit Xia Shenxian and Ji Bei-shin. After Ji Bei-shin took Ling Xiao's bone-replenishing pill, she had returned to normal after a period of recuperation. However, she still lived in seclusion and rarely went out of the city. It was as if she was not the slightest bit curious about everything outside the city. On the contrary, every time Ling Xiao went to see her, she would ask to go out with Ling Xiao. Ji Bei-shin was as beautiful as a fairy. Walking in the Purple Heaven City, no matter where she went, she would attract a wolf-like greedy gaze. Because of this, she even met a few playboys who wanted to bully the weak and snatch the beauty. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao had broken the legs of those playboys, which shocked a lot of people. Of course, Ling Xiao only spent a small part of his time down the mountain. Most of his time was still spent on cultivation and alchemy. Now, Ling Xiao's profound strength had reached the peak realm by relying on the invisible wood technique and the 3 parts origin returning technique. This speed could be said to be extremely fast. It would take at least 2 to 3 years for a person with a high cultivation level in Tenbin to accumulate from the beginning of a high-level mystic realm to the peak of the mystic realm, but Ling Xiao only took a year to reach it. No one would believe it if he said it. At the same time, Ling Xiao's mental strength was also accumulating at an astonishing speed through the frequent refining of medicinal pellets and the spiritual herbs that he bought from the Spirit Herb Hall to increase his mental strength. Now, Ling Xiao was able to use his mental strength to attack within a range of 20 meters, and his sensitivity was as high as 500 meters. What was even more worth mentioning was that Ling Xiao's cultivation of the Raging Flame Finger had already reached the initial stage. Among the numerous profound arts and profound skills, only the Vajra 5 transformation art remained at its original stage and did not make any progress. This matter made Ling Xiao extremely distressed. The Vajra 5 transformation art was not inferior to the 3 parts origin returning technique, and was much more powerful than the invisible wood technique. It was impossible for Ling Xiao to give up on cultivating the Vajra 5 transformation art. However, he knew that this matter was still lacking some opportunity, and could not be rushed. In addition, Hua Xiaogui had already successfully broken through to a high-level profound practitioner half a year ago. After 3 months of stabilizing her realm, Nangong Changle used medicinal pellets to forcefully raise Hua Xiaogui's cultivation to that of a low-level mystic realm cultivator. Now that he could already use the fire attribute to refine medicinal pellets, he could be considered a true first-grade alchemist. It had to be said that Hua Xiaogui's tenbin of refining medicinal pellets was extremely high, and even Nangong Changle was full of praises for him. Even though his success rate was not as abnormal as Ling Xiao's, it was still around 70 to 80%. For a first-grade alchemist, this was extremely rare. Through Ling Xiao's observation, he always felt that his master, Nangong Changle, and Hua Xiaogui's relationship seemed to be rather close, and he always felt that there was some unknown secret between the two. Ling Xiao was not a person who liked to gossip. Although he was curious, he would never investigate this matter to the end. Moreover, he was not the kind of person who was extremely jealous. Even if Nangong Changle treated Hua Xiaogui warmly, it did not matter to him. Even though Nangong Changle was a 4th-grade alchemist, in Ling Xiao's eyes, he was only an alchemist that was 1 grade higher than him. Once he broke through to the Spirit Master level, he would have an even stronger strength, and with the pill formulas and essentials of the pill refining technique, with his talent and comprehension, it would not be too difficult for him to become a 4th-grade alchemist. Peaceful days would eventually pass. A piece of news that made Ling Xiao extremely angry suddenly came. Chapter 195. Xia Xianxian had been kidnapped. When Ling Xiao received the news, he was still cultivating on Wooden Flag Peak. It was Li Kuanghu who found Jitu, and Jitu sent people into the sect to inform Ling Xiao. When Ling Xiao heard the news, he was furious. He immediately stopped cultivating and rushed down the mountain from Wooden Flag Peak. When he saw Li Kuanghu, his body was very weak. It was obvious that he had been seriously injured. Fortunately, his life was not in danger. "Kuanghu, what is going on?" Ling Xiao suppressed his anger and asked with an ashen face. If Li Kuanghu was not injured, he would have scolded Li Kuanghu for not being able to protect her. As for Xia Xianxian, Ling Xiao treated her like his own sister. But now that she had been kidnapped, how could he not be angry? Li Kuanghu climbed up from the bed with difficulty and knelt in front of Ling Xiao. "Young master, please punish me." Kuanghu was unable to protect Mississippi. "Get up first," Ling Xiao said. He took a deep breath and said, "Tell me what's going on." Li Kuanghu stood up and said, "Miss was playing in the yard today when a strange old man came and insisted on taking Miss as his disciple. Miss naturally did not dare, but that strange old man actually wanted to take Miss away. I went to stop him, but unexpectedly, that strange old man's strength was extraordinary. He knocked me out with one move. When I woke up, Miss was already gone. I had no choice but to ask City Lord Ji for help." "He knocked you out with one move?" Ling Xiao asked with a frown. He then said, "Could this person be a spirit master?" "Young master, I can't feel any spiritual energy from him. I also feel that he should not be as simple as a spirit master," Li Kuanghu guessed. "Not just spirit master," Ling Xiao said in shock. "Yes, he only raised his hand and I completely lost the ability to resist. Even a spirit master would not be so powerful," Li Kuanghu replied. For a moment, Ling Xiao's forehead formed a chuan shape. A deep feeling of powerlessness arose spontaneously. Ever since he transmigrated and was reborn, this had never happened before. Xia Xianxian was kidnapped, but he did not know who did it. Even Li Kuanghu, a high-level mystic cultivator, was knocked unconscious in just one move. This showed how powerful the person was. Even if he stayed by Xia Xuanxuan's side, he might not be able to protect her. "Damn it! My strength is still too low. I need to break through to the martial master level as soon as possible." Ling Xiao clenched his fists tightly, his heart yearning to advance to the next level. At the same time, he also asked Jitu to send people to look for the strange old man that Li Kuanghu said. It was a pity that he turned over the Purple Heaven City, but he couldn't find a shadow. Since then, Xia Xianxian had disappeared. However, when he thought about how the other party wanted to take her in as his disciple, there shouldn't be any danger. Thus, Ling Xiao stopped searching. Ling Xiao returned to the sect and announced that he would go into death seclusion on Wood Flag Peak. He swore that he would not come out until he reached Spirit Master level. Mu Huai did not expect that Ling Xiao could break through to Spirit Master level in a short year. He was overjoyed. Ling Xiao was only 19 years old. In the Purple Heaven sect, only Yun Mingqi had reached Spirit Master level before 20. He hoped that Ling Xiao could succeed in one go. Nangong Changle did not have any objections to Ling Xiao's seclusion. In any case, he felt that it would be beneficial for Ling Xiao to break through. At that time, he could teach Ling Xiao how to refine third-grade elixirs. In a stone cave on Wood Flag Peak that was full of spiritual energy, Ling Xiao was meditating like a statue. His whole body was emitting colorful light of attributes, which looked extremely magical. Ling Xiao chose to suddenly go into seclusion at this time. One reason was because of Xia Xianxian, and the other reason was that he wanted to catch up to that figure. Because he accidentally heard his master Mu Huai say that Yun Mingqi had successfully broken through from half-step king level to king level yesterday. When Ling Xiao heard this, he immediately became annoyed. He felt that his speed of advancement was still too slow. He was so slow that he did not know when he would be able to catch up to Yun Mingqi. This time, his profound strength had just reached the peak of high-level profound disciple, and he could not wait to break through. In fact, it was a bit too hasty. Breaking through from profound disciple level to spirit master level was a change in fighting strength and form. It was also a dividing line between whether a martial artist could reach a higher level in their lifetime. Once a martial artist reached Spirit Master level, they would no longer cultivate the profound strength in their body. Instead, they would absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to temper their body, strengthen their muscles, and make their fighting strength even more astonishing. At the same time, they would be able to look inside their body, such as their internal organs, meridians, acupuncture points, sea of consciousness. It could be said that only after breaking through to Spirit Master level could one be considered a true cultivator. Spirit Master level represented the strongest power in Meteor City, but in Purple Sky Sect, it was only the backbone of power. In the whole Xianling continent, it was only a martial artist who had just entered the sect. If one wanted to transform the profound strength in one's body into spiritual strength, then one must sense the existence of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and then guide the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into one's body, so that the profound strength in one's body was replaced by spiritual energy. Only then could one become a true spirit master. This process seemed very simple, but it was really very difficult to take this step. Otherwise, there would not be so few spirit master level experts in Meteor City at that time. Originally, with Ling Zhao's comprehension and the level of his profound strength, there was a certain chance that he could guide the spiritual energy into his body and replace his profound strength so that he could reach Spirit Master level. Unfortunately, his current state of mind was already in a mess. His normal state of meditation was completely messed up. The profound strength in his body kept rushing around in his meridians, and his breath was completely messed up. A mouthful of blood spurted out. His eyes became terrifyingly red, and his profound strength swelled to the point that the meridians in his body seemed to be about to explode. Ah! Ling Xiao was like a wild beast, both of his fists waving around in a disorderly manner. One after another, the attributed profound strength exploded on the rock walls, making muffled sounds, and many pits suddenly appeared. The Wood Flag Mountain disciples who were cultivating in the nearby caves were all alarmed by the bursts of rumbling sounds, interrupting their cultivation. One by one, they rushed out of the caves. Damn! What the hell is he doing? He wants to destroy the mountain peak. Who is in the 8th cultivation room? Damn it, I almost broke through. This is great, I don't know when I can break through again. I'll go fight him with my life. Don't go. Didn't you see how big of a commotion he caused? You'll only be asking for trouble if you go in. Damn, what a pervert. If he wants to cultivate, he doesn't have to do it in the stone room, really. After an unknown amount of time, the stone cave gradually calmed down. A figure fell to the ground, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The knuckles of both hands were covered with blood. At this moment, Ling Zhao's meridians were in a mess, and his inner breath was in a mess. He was unconscious. Outside the cave, an old man waved his hand, and the sealed entrance of the stone room was opened. Mu Huai slowly walked in and looked at Ling Xiao, who was lying on the ground. He shook his head lightly and said, "This child is too anxious." Then, Mu Huai lifted Ling Xiao from the ground and flew out of the cave with him. Back at his residence, Mu Huai pressed his palm on Ling Xiao's chest, and a green light suddenly appeared. Unexpectedly, after the green light entered Ling Xiao's body, it was guided to the depths of Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness by a force of attraction. Mu Huai didn't know what was going on, so he frowned slightly and increased the amount of energy he used to urge his spiritual power. However, Ling Xiao's body was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much spiritual power he poured in, it still didn't have any effect. This made Mu Huai puzzled no matter how much he thought about it. Does a body with a pure wood attribute need so much spiritual power? Mu Huai muttered to himself. He stopped channeling spiritual power and stuffed 2 pills into Ling Zhao's mouth. Then he carried him and flew towards Medicine Peak. Old man Nangong, quickly come out and save him. Mu Huai was worried about Ling Zhao's safety. As soon as he arrived above Medicine Peak, he anxiously called out. Nangong Changle quickly shot out from a direction. Old Huai, what's wrong with Ling Xiao? Nangong Changle looked at Mu Huai carrying Ling Xiao and couldn't help but ask worriedly. This kid is about to break through to Spirit Master, so he's a bit anxious. He's probably gone mad. Let's go below you first, Mu Huai explained before descending from the sky. Nangong Changle led the way and hurriedly entered one of the houses. Mu Huai put Ling Xiao down, and Nangong Changle impatiently took Ling Xiao's pulse. He's really gone mad. Nangong Changle felt Ling Xiao's pulse and immediately confirmed Ling Xiao's condition. Without another word, he took out 2 pills and stuffed them into Ling Xiao's mouth. Mu Huai anxiously asked from the side, "He'll be fine, right? After taking my heart-calming pill, he should be able to return to normal very quickly. It's just that he won't be able to break through in the short term. Furthermore, his meridians have been damaged, so his strength might have regressed." Nangong Changle said, "It's good that he's fine. If his strength regresses, he can cultivate it back. However, his mental state needs to be tempered. Otherwise, if it happens again, I'm afraid," Mu Huai said with a sigh of relief. "Young people are sometimes impulsive. It's not necessarily a bad thing to let him suffer a bit. Let's go, we'll leave. This kid won't wake up for a while," Nangong Changle said with a bitter smile. "Yes, you're right. He's still young anyway. As long as he can break through to Spirit Master before the age of 25, it won't be a problem." Mu Huai nodded. Then the 2 of them left the room. After Ling Xiao, who was lying on the bed, took the pill, the condition of his body did indeed gradually improve. The Vajra 5 transformation technique began to display its miraculous effects again. The damaged meridians were gradually repaired, and the muscles in his body were also slowly recovering. Meanwhile, Ling Xiao's consciousness entered his own spiritual sea. It was as if he had walked into another world. He looked at the little green tree and the innate sinister wind bead in his sea of consciousness and couldn't help but feel shocked. So this was what existed in his sea of consciousness. What's going on? Ling Xiao thought in confusion. He didn't understand why he had mysteriously entered this place. At this moment, a green figure walked out of the little green tree. Who else could it be but Lu Wang? "Little friend, I trust you've been well since we last met." Lu Wang stroked his beard as he proudly greeted. "Elder Lu, how did I end up in your sea of consciousness?" Ling Xiao asked Lu Wang in confusion. Chapter 196. Haha, you should be the one asking yourself. Could it be that you didn't walk in by yourself? Lu Wang said with a smile. I don't even know how I got in here, so I'm asking you. I thought you were the one who brought me in. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. It seemed like he had entered an unsolvable state. That's strange. I thought you had already cultivated your soul to the realm of out-of-body experience. Lu Wang said in astonishment. Out-of-body experience? What kind of realm is that? Ling Xiao asked in confusion. For us tree spirits or spirit beasts, it should be at the 8th level or above, and we can condense our divine soul. As for you humans, I'm not sure, Lu Wang explained. 8th level. Ling Xiao's face darkened. 8th level spirit beasts were equivalent to human mystic thearchs. To Ling Xiao, they were undoubtedly godlike existences. Lu Wang had actually said that he had cultivated to the 8th level. This old fellow didn't even think before he spoke. Seeing Ling Xiao's speechless expression, Lu Wang slapped his own head and said, I almost forgot. You're still so young. How could you have reached the 8th level? Otherwise, I wouldn't be in such a state. That's right, Elder Lu. Is it because of you that I possess wood attribute energy? Ling Xiao asked. This question had been bottled up in his heart for a long time. He had always felt that it was because of Lu Wang's or the 10,000-year tree's milk. Otherwise, how could he have a 100% wood attribute purity? I think so. Since I'm occupying your sea of consciousness, I'm actually a part of your body. It should have affected your constitution. Lu Wang replied after thinking for a moment. So that's how it is. Then, do you know what it is? Ling Xiao suddenly understood and then pointed at the innate sinister wind bead. What? You don't even know what it is? Lu Wang was flabbergasted. I don't know. Ling Xiao shook his head. He had found this bead in the abyss of the desolate mountain range, and he had almost lost his life there. Later, The bead had burrowed into his forehead for no reason and then disappeared. Only now did he know that it had always been in his head. Anyone would have an indescribable fear towards the unknown. I really don't know what kind of dog shit luck you have. It is an extremely rare item of nature in the world. It is something that can only be bred in extreme environments after tens of thousands of years. This bead belongs to the baleful dark wind, and is called the innate dark wind bead. Lu Wang sighed and explained to Ling Xiao. It's the natural yin wind bead. Ling Xiao was greatly startled by Lu Wang's words. In the past, Ling Xiao had read some introductions to these treasures in some ancient books, but there was too little detailed information. He only knew that they existed. That's right. They've lived for over 10,000 years, so they're all sentient creatures. They all have the ability to choose their own masters. Once they approve of someone, any spirit beast or human will obtain a great benefit, said Lu Wang. No wonder my wind attribute is also 100% pure. It seems that this is the reason. Ling Xiao happily looked at the innate dark wind bead and muttered to himself. Such a rare spirit object had actually acknowledged his existence. His mood was extremely good. However, from what Lu Wang said, this innate dark wind bead should be very useful to him. However, he had only been able to use the innate dark wind baleful qi. He didn't know what other uses it had. Presumably, its use is to speed up my cultivation. If I only cultivate the divine wind method, I'm sure my strength will increase by leaps and bounds. Ling Xiao guessed. Crap! Wasn't I breaking through just now? How did I get here? How do I get out? Ling Xiao suddenly remembered that he was at the critical juncture of breaking through to Spirit Master. Don't worry, this is your body. Since you can come in, it's easy for you to leave. However, I suggest that you stay here a bit longer. It'll be beneficial for you, Lu Wang said from the side. Why do you say that? Ling Xiao asked in confusion. This is your spiritual sea. Don't you want it to expand a bit? Lu Wang asked back. That's possible? Ling Xiao asked blankly. Yes. But the prerequisite is that you have to communicate with it. Lu Wang pointed at the innate dark wind bead. It can help me expand my sea of knowledge? Of course it can. It's something created by heaven and earth, so the energy it contains is practically limitless. As long as it's willing to help you, it can expand your sea of knowledge even more. This will definitely be extremely beneficial to your cultivation of mental strength. Furthermore, as long as you can communicate with the spiritual qi of the world, you can absorb that spiritual qi to temper your sea of knowledge. This will have an immeasurable effect on your future cultivation, Lu Wang explained. Then how can I communicate with it? Ling Xiao asked. You can try to use your spirit to sense it. Since it has acknowledged you, I'm sure it will help you. Furthermore, this is also a good thing for it. Your sea of knowledge is larger, and the mental strength you can store in the future will be even greater. Can also absorb it to strengthen itself, Lu Wang replied. Ling Xiao thought about it for a moment, and his eyes lit up. All right, I'll try. Ling Xiao walked to the side of the innate dark wind bead and sat down. He began to communicate with it through his spirit. Ling Xiao didn't know that he had been in his sea of knowledge for an entire month. Outside, Mu Huai and Nangong Changle were about to go crazy. Old man Nangong, tell me what's going on. Didn't you say that your tranquil pill was effective? Why hasn't he woken up after a month? Mu Huai complained to Nangong Changle. It wasn't easy for him to take in a disciple with a bright future, and he really didn't want to see him die. Can you stop making a ruckus here? It's not like you don't know his situation. His body is clearly fine, but he still hasn't woken up. I don't know what to do either, Nangong Changle said in a similarly unhappy tone. For a moment, both of them sighed and didn't say anything else. After a moment of silence, Mu Huai said, Why don't I bring him to see Master? He's experienced and knowledgeable, so he should know what's going on. Nangong Changle nodded. That's the only way. Just as Mu Huai was about to carry Ling Xiao actually opened his eyes. Masters, you're both here? Ling Xiao crawled up and asked in surprise. You brat, you're finally awake. Old man Nangong. Hurry up and see if he's all right. Mu Huai cried out in surprise. Nangong Changle grabbed Ling Zhao's hand and inspected it before saying, "Strange. What's wrong? Is there a problem?" Mu Huai asked nervously. "Oh, it's nothing. He's very well. His profound energy is still very stable, and there are no signs of it regressing." "It's really rare," Nangong Changle hurriedly replied. "It's good that he's fine." Mu Huai heaved a sigh of relief. He then looked at Ling Xiao and said, "You're still a little too impulsive, kid. Forget it, you should stay at Medicine Peak for a while. When you're in a better condition, you can go to Wood Flag Peak to cultivate." After saying that, Mu Huai turned around and left. Ling Xiao felt Mu Huai's care for him and his heart warmed. "Master, I've made you worry," Ling Xiao said to Nangong Changle. "On the path of cultivation, what is important is tenacious patience, the confidence to move forward bravely, and a calm and steady mind. This time, you've failed to break through, so you should reflect on it properly," Nangong Changle said indifferently before leaving Ling Xiao's room. Ling Xiao pondered over Nangong Changle's words and couldn't help but come to a realization. In the past, whenever he wanted to break through to the next level, he would always pay attention to purification and compression. He would only choose to break through when he was in his best condition. This time, he had been too hasty, and coupled with his chaotic state of mind, he had almost died from chi deviation. Fortunately, this time it could be considered as a blessing in disguise. His spiritual sea had been expanded by more than 5 times by the innate Yin Wind bead. If it wasn't for the fact that Ling Zhao's realm was limited, it would probably be even more than this. Because of this, his mental strength had more than doubled. As long as his mental strength could be consolidated and filled up his current sea of consciousness, he would be able to condense his mental strength into a few more powerful moves. At that time, it wouldn't just be simple needles, fists, palms, and other shaped attacks. For example, he could use his mental strength to form the first form of the cloud-expelling palm, the first form of the wind god's kick, the wind-grasping shadow, the heavenly frost fist's frosty wind pouncing. Using mental strength to form a move would be 10 times more powerful than the previous simple shaped attacks. For those below the mystic night realm, as long as Ling Xiao thought about it, his sea of consciousness would immediately explode and he would die. As for using it against a spirit master, it wouldn't end well for them either. Although Ling Xiao was unable to break through to the spirit master realm this time, he now had a mysterious power that could contend against a spirit master. In the next few days, Ling Xiao once again repaired some of the hidden injuries in his body. At the same time, he tried to use his mental strength to attack a few objects. The power was much stronger than the condensed needle stab from before, causing Ling Xiao to be pleasantly surprised. "Is boss in?" Hua Xiaogui's voice rang out from outside the room. "Greetings, Senior Hua. Senior Ling is in the room." An outer sect disciple outside the door replied. This outer sect disciple was Yu Lang, who was previously guarding the spirit herb garden. After more than a year of testing, Ling Xiao felt that Yu Lang was rather honest and reliable. He was also extremely persistent in refining medicine. Although Tenbin wasn't high, Ling Xiao was still lacking a follower, so he let Yu Lang follow him. Ling Xiao bounced off the bed and walked out of the room. Looking at Hua Xiaogui, who was beaming with happiness, he said, "Little turtle, why are you smiling so lasciviously? Is there something good?" "Hee, boss, master told us to go to the Jade Spring Pavilion to get the 1,000-year green pond grass to refine the ice-cold pill." Hua Xiaogui laughed strangely. "You brat, so you have an excuse to go see Little Snow. No wonder you're so happy." Ling Xiao joked. "Look at what you're saying. It's not like you don't know my feelings for Little Snow. It's already been a year and I've only reached the 2nd level. I don't know if I can really reach the 3rd level in another 2 years." Hua Xiaogui said, "You have to believe in yourself. Let's go to the Jade Spring Pavilion. I heard that there are many beauties there. I really want to see them." Ling Xiao said a sentence of encouragement. Then he put his arm around Hua Xiaogui's shoulder and walked in the direction of the Jade Spring Pavilion. Chapter 197. The Jade Spring Pavilion was located in a mountain region facing south in the north. In the middle of the mountain there was an icy spring. The spring here was cold all year round, so the temperature around the main peak of the Jade Spring Pavilion was much lower than that of other peak regions. The environment here was beautiful, and hundreds of flowers bloomed deliciously. The plum trees were dotted with plum stars, and they were like stars that emitted a boundless starlight that mesmerized one's mind. If there was a great master who knew formations here, they would definitely be able to tell that this was the Plum Blossom Bewildering Formation. If an ordinary person didn't have someone familiar with this formation to guide them, they would most likely be lost once they entered and be trapped to death without being able to find a way out. At this moment, Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui were trapped inside. Before coming here, Hua Xiaogui hadn't even finished listening to Nan Gongchangle's instructions. She had impatiently gone to find Ling Xiao and come with him to the Jade Spring Pavilion. Unexpectedly, they had arrived at this plum blossom forest at the foot of the mountain and gotten lost. "Boss, you said this is a formation forest?" Hua Xiaogui asked Ling Xiao with her mouth wide open. Ling Xiao sat down and smiled. "That's right. Every plum blossom tree here looks like they're planted in a mess, but there's a certain pattern to it. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but after walking for an hour, we're still walking in circles. This is definitely a formation forest. What should we do? Should we call for help?" Hua Xiaogui asked with a downcast expression. "What the hell are you calling for? If they wanted to let us in, they would have already sent people to bring us out. They're clearly trying to trap us here," Ling Xiao said unhappily. "No way. We're not enemies, so why would they want to trap us here?" Hua Xiaogui asked in confusion. "How are you going to ask me? Sit down first. I'll think about how to break the formation," Ling Xiao said to Hua Xiaogui as he patted the ground. "Boss, you even know formations?" Hua Xiaogui asked with a face full of worship. "A little bit. I don't know if you still remember, so don't bother me for now," Ling Xiao said impatiently before sinking into deep thought. Hua Xiaogui obediently shut her mouth and sat down. She thought to herself, "As expected of my boss, he's really proficient in everything." However, in the Plum Blossom Maze formation, two beautiful figures were hiding not far away, watching Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui. They were two young girls. Both of them looked elegant and refined, but in comparison, the girl with the plum blossom knot on her head was more beautiful and pure. This young girl was dressed in pink satin, which made her figure seem as graceful as a snake. She was exquisite, and she was like the queen of flowers in a field of flowers as she stood proudly. She pointed a finger at her jade-like lips, a cunning look in her eyes, like a mischievous little devil. She stared at Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui in front of her. No one knew what she was planning. "Junior sister, is it appropriate for us to do this? The pavilion master will blame you," a woman wearing green satin beside the pink girl said in a low voice. This woman was a few years older than the pink girl beside her. "What are you afraid of? They came in on their own and it's not your fault. Even if the pavilion master blames you, I'll take care of it." "Really?" The pink girl pouted with slight dissatisfaction. "But they're senior brothers from Medicine Peak, and the pavilion master has already ordered us to bring them in," said the green-clothed woman. "All right, if they can't break the formation in another hour, then we'll bring them out. In any case, this little bit of time won't make a difference," said the pink girl unwillingly. Seeing the pink girl like this, the green-clothed woman didn't dare to say anything else. Who asked her to have such a special identity? After a while, Ling Xiao stood up, a charming smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. He muttered, "The plum blossom formation is arranged according to Qian 1, Dui 2, Li 3, Zhen 4, Sun 5, Qin 6, Gen 7, and Kuan 8. The Jade Spring Pavilion's water gate is the Ken Gate, and the Ken Gate is the Life Gate." As Ling Xiao spoke, he walked according to the pattern, changing directions every 6 steps. Hua Xiaogui naturally followed behind, but he didn't understand what Ling Xiao was talking about. He felt that as long as he followed his boss, he would definitely not go wrong. "Junior sister, they're going to walk out," the green-clothed woman slightly exclaimed. "I saw it. I really didn't expect that this guy would know a bit about formations. But we can't let them walk out so easily. Otherwise, where would this lady's face go? The pink girl angrily said. Junior sister, what are you doing? The green-clothed woman worriedly asked. Just watch, the pink girl lightly said. Following that, her delicate hand made a few profound hand seals, and a wave of profound energy rippled out like a dense fog. Only a moment later, the entire plum blossom forest became hazy, and it was impossible to see the true direction. It was as if they were in a maze. Let's see how you're going to tell the direction this time, the pink girl said to herself with a pale smile after swallowing 2 medicinal pills. It seemed that the move just now had consumed a lot of her profound energy. The green-clothed woman at the side looked even more worried. She was the disciple in charge of receiving the disciples, but now she had trapped the people she was supposed to receive in the plum blossom forest. If this was known by the pavilion master, she was afraid that she wouldn't have a good life. Don't be in a daze. Follow them and see if they can still walk out. The pink girl was like a naughty child, pulling the green-clothed woman and chasing after Ling Xiao. Boss, why is there fog for no reason? This is great, we really can't walk out. Hua Xiaogui looked at the place where he couldn't see his fingers in front of him, and said in distress. Ling Xiao slightly frowned, and in his heart, he was puzzled. Why is there suddenly fog? Someone is definitely playing tricks. He felt that the sudden appearance of the fog was a little inconceivable, but he couldn't understand why. In the Purple Sky sect, who would play such a boring trick? Could it be that it was a test to enter the Jade Spring Pavilion? All right, I'll take it as a test, Ling Xiao murmured, and then said to Hua Xiaogui, Little turtle, follow closely. After saying that, Ling Xiao walked faster, and the fog in front of him didn't affect his vision at all. In fact, he had already opened his spiritual force. The spiritual force was like an invisible guide, and within a radius of 500 meters, nothing could escape from Ling Xiao's senses. Sure enough, there's a ghost. Ling Xiao seemed to have sensed something, smiled slightly, and sped up a bit. Boss, wait for me. Hua Xiaogui followed behind Ling Xiao. Behind them, 2 beautiful figures followed like shadows. Damn. How can he still find the right direction? The pink girl stamped her feet and hurriedly chased after them. The green girl shook her head and still followed the pink girl. After a while, Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui finally walked out of the plum blossom forest, and a staircase leading to the main peak of the Jade Spring Pavilion appeared in front of them. We're finally out. Boss, let's go up, Hua Xiaogui said with a sigh of relief. No need to rush. Let's rest for a bit and wait for the people behind us, Ling Xiao said with a calm smile. The people behind us? Hua Xiaogui asked doubtfully. Sure enough, after a while, 2 beautiful figures rushed out of the plum blossom forest. Ling Xiao calmly looked at the 2 of them. The slightly older girl in green was considered to be above average in terms of beauty. Her body was not bad. She was fat where she should be, thin where she should be. In the secular world, she could be considered to be a beautiful woman. The more attractive one was the girl in pink. She had a delicate face, bright eyes and white teeth. Her skin was delicate and glossy. She had a slender waist, and her slightly angry expression revealed a bit of annoyance. She was very likable. 2 beauties, aren't you tired after following us for so long? Ling Xiao sneered with his arms crossed in front of his chest. These 2 were clearly disciples of the Jade Spring Pavilion, and they actually dared to make fun of them. Naturally, Ling Xiao was in a bad mood. I'm sorry, senior apprentice brother. The green-robed girl revealed an embarrassed expression. She was originally an outer disciple in charge of leading people up the mountain. She was indeed in the wrong, but could she be blamed? The green-robed girl hadn't finished speaking when the pink-robed girl took 2 steps forward. Her beautiful eyes glanced over Ling Xiao's face, and that angry expression suddenly turned into a sly smile. How did you break the plum blossom bewildering formation? This girl seemed to be exceptionally bold, and her proud and firm breasts were almost touching Ling Xiao's chest. Ling Xiao smelled the faint fragrance of this girl, and he was incomparably intoxicated. When he took a closer look, although this girl's appearance was a bit lacking compared to Yun Mengqi and Ji Beixin, she was pure and pleasant, like a next-door girl. Ling Xiao took a step back and proudly said, "What's so difficult about it? If it was a simple formation, it would only be able to block a few brainless fellows. According to what you're saying, you're also an expert in formations?" The girl revealed an expression of worship and moved even closer to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was very pleased with this girl's expression, and in his heart, he thought, could it be that I'm going to have some luck with women? I can't be considered an expert, but I do know a thing or two about some small formations. Ling Xiao straightened his back. To be honest, he did know a little bit about some simple formations. This was something he had done on a whim in his previous life, and he had studied it for a period of time. Unfortunately, in the end, he gave up on it because he couldn't bring himself to do so. Brag. Keep on bragging, the girl said disdainfully in her heart. But she still smiled and said, then what's senior apprentice brother's name? In the future, I'll look for you to study it together. Okay? I'm Ling Xiao from Medicine Peak, and he's my junior apprentice brother, Hua Xiaogui. Normally, my time is very limited, but if I want to study formations with a beauty like you, junior apprentice sister, then of course it's not a problem. Ling Xiao looked at the girl in pink and said, Wu Sixue had long been engaged to Hua Xiaogui, so Ling Xiao didn't have any ideas about her. But this girl in front of him was so innocent and cute that he couldn't bear to hurt her heart, so he reluctantly discussed it with her. Then it's settled. When I have time, I'll go to Medicine Peak to find you, the girl said happily, and then pulled the green-clothed girl away. Ha ha! This young master's character is not to be trifled with. Even such cute girls are my fans. Life is such a carefree life. Ling Xiao laughed heartily as he watched the two girls walk away. Boss, you're really worthy of being the boss. Even a girl sent herself to your door, Hua Xiaogui said worshipfully. Of course. Otherwise, how could I be your boss? But, boss, you don't seem to know what her name is? Could it be that she's just tricking you? That can't be. She looks so innocent and cute. She doesn't seem like she's lying, right? My mother once said that the more beautiful a woman is, the more likely she is to lie. Chapter 198. So hateful, I actually let them escape. This isn't fun at all. The girl in pink returned to her residence and said unhappily. She had originally wanted to trap Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui for a bit longer, but she hadn't expected them to break the formation. Moreover, they weren't affected by her fog. Just now, she had deliberately tried to curry favor with Ling Xiao in order to divert Ling Xiao's attention so that he wouldn't pursue their mistakes. My dear daughter, who made you angry? A graceful voice came from outside the house, and then a beautiful woman walked in. She was the pavilion master of the Jade Spring Pavilion, Wen Haiyan, and the girl in pink was her daughter, Wen Qidi. Isn't it that hateful Ling Xiao? Wen Qidi was in a fit of anger and had forgotten that the person who had come was her mother. Hateful Ling Xiao? My dear daughter, did he bully you? Did he take advantage of you? Wen Haiyan said in surprise. Mother, what are you talking about? Wen Qidi blushed slightly and speechlessly said, could it be that he bullied you and you don't want to admit it? Wen Haiyan arrived in front of her daughter and said with slight anger, no, what are you thinking? Wen Qidi angrily replied, you really didn't? Really? That's good. I was wondering who would be so daring to bully my daughter. Wen Haiyan said with a sigh of relief, of course, it has always been me who bullies others. No one can bully me. Wen Qidi curled her sexy lips. Is that so? Then tell your mother. How did you get to know Ling Xiao? That young fellow is not bad, but it's a pity that he has entered the Medicine Peak. Wen Haiyan sighed. Wen Qidi hesitated for a moment and then told her what had happened at the foot of the peak. However, she had twisted the matter a bit. She said that Ling Xiao didn't need their guidance and forcibly broke through the plum blossom forest. In the end, he even broke the plum blossom bewildering formation and ridiculed them. When Haiyan understood her daughter's character, she was just like a little witch. She would only believe half of what she said. Perhaps her daughter was angry because she did not lead the other party through the plum blossom forest, but the other party broke through the plum blossom forest. This little fellow really does have some ability. He was actually able to break the plum blossom confounding formation. When Haiyan's interest in Ling Xiao grew, Ling Xiao's ice attribute was over 90% when he had tested his attribute purity. TCH, he must have hit the jackpot. The more when Kitty thought about it, the more unwilling she became. When Haiyan kindly smiled at her daughter and said, "Let's go. Mother will seek justice for you. I think it's better to forget about it. I am a great person and do not hold grudges against others." When Kudai did not dare to go with her mother to find trouble with Ling Xiao. If her matter was exposed, she would definitely be scolded again. "Let's go. If they want to take the 1,000-year jade poolgrass, they have to get my permission first." When Haiyan took her daughter's hand and brought her over, regardless of whether she was willing or not, Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui walked all the way to the top of Jade Spring Peak and were amazed by the beautiful scenery here. It was because all the women here were beautiful and moving. They were beautiful and alluring, and they each had their own merits. Both of them were dumbstruck by the sight of this. These women were all Jade Spring Pavilion disciples, both inner and outer sect disciples. Hua Xiaogui was still calm, but Ling Xiao could not. Ever since he left Meteor City, he had not touched a woman for more than a year. Seeing so many beautiful women, the male in his heart was stimulated. He really wished that all the women in front of him were his maids. "Boss, you are drooling," Hua Xiaogui reminded him. "Hiss." Ling Xiao sucked in a mouthful of saliva and pretended to be serious. "I am a little hungry. Quickly take the 1,000-year jade poolgrass and leave." In fact, it was him who felt uncomfortable looking at these beautiful women. Ling Xiao was originally handsome and tall, soft but firm. Plus, he was wearing the robes of an inner sect disciple of Medicine Peak. Many beautiful women boldly threw flirtatious glances at him, causing his body to heat up. At this time, a female deacon stepped forward and said to Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui, "What business do the two of you have with my Jade Spring Pavilion?" "This deacon, we are here on the orders of my master to take the 1,000-year jade poolgrass. Please inform the pavilion master," Ling Xiao said to the woman seriously, but his eyes were on the other party's proud breasts. The female deacon frowned and replied, "Wait a moment. I will go and inform the pavilion master." However, before the female deacon could go far, she saw Wen Haiyan walking over. "Greetings, pavilion master." For a moment, the surrounding female disciples all bowed to Wen Haiyan. Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui also bowed to greet her. However, when they saw Wen Qidi holding Wen Haiyan's arm, they were a little confused. "Did your master ask you to come and take the 1,000-year jade poolgrass?" Wen Haiyan asked lightly. "Yes, pavilion master. My master urgently needs to refine a batch of ice-cold pills and is lacking the 1,000-year jade poolgrass." Ling Xiao replied, secretly glancing at Wen Qidi. "Ice-cold pills? It seems that we really shouldn't stay in that place for long." Wen Haiyan frowned slightly and said to herself. Then she said to the female deacon who hadn't left, "Mingyue, take him to get the 1,000-year jade poolgrass." Ling Xiao thought that Wen Haiyan was talking about him, so he cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, pavilion master one." Thus, he wanted to leave with Hua Xiaogui and the female deacon. "Ling Xiao, you stay. You can go with her." When Haiyan pointed at Hua Xiaogui and said, Ling Xiao didn't understand and stopped. Hua Xiaogui glanced at Ling Xiao and saw Ling Xiao nod to her, so she left with the female deacon. "Is there anything else pavilion master Wen needs?" Ling Xiao asked. In his heart he was thinking, could it be that she wants to be a matchmaker for that girl? This is not easy. This young master is not a casual person. What's more, I already have Meng Qi. If she finds out, wouldn't it be miserable? I heard that you've become a disciple of both Medicine Peak and Wood Flag Peak. Is this true? When Haiyan looked at Ling Xiao and asked. Ling Xiao nodded and replied, "Yes, I am indebted to the two masters for not abandoning me. Ling Xiao has already become a disciple of Master Nangong and Master Mu. One disciple, two masters. This is a precedent in our sect. You should be proud. When Haiyan lightly praised. Then she said, "Then are you interested in becoming a disciple of my Jade Spring Pavilion? Ice attribute attacks are much stronger than wood attribute attacks." Well, Ling Xiao looked embarrassed. He didn't know what to say. He cultivated the three-part origin returning chi. He cultivated three attributes at the same time. He didn't need to cultivate fire, ice, and wind attribute Shin arts. Therefore, he never thought of becoming a disciple of Wen Haiyan. My mother is kind enough to take you in, but you are actually so reluctant. You really don't know how to appreciate kindness. When Kitty said with dissatisfaction, "Kitty, don't be rude," when Haiyan lightly snorted, but her face didn't have the slightest hint of blame. It was the first time that she could put down her pride and say these words to Ling Xiao. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao's great potential, she would have disdained to do this. Pavilion Master 1, many thanks for your love for Ling Xiao. If I were to become a disciple of the Jade Spring Pavilion, I'm afraid it would cause others to criticize me. Moreover, I shouldn't bite off more than I can chew. Ling Xiao can do two things at once, but to do three things at once is really. Ling Xiao tactfully refused. And what you said is reasonable. I won't force you on this matter. When Haiyan agreed, then she glanced at Wen Kitty and said, "Just now I heard Kitty say that you broke the plum blossom bewildering formation? It was purely a fluke. It is good for young people to know how to be humble." When Haiyan praised, then she said, "This is my daughter, Wen Kitty. She is also your junior apprentice sister. She is a girl who is bored staying on the mountain all day. When you have time, you can take her to the city for a stroll." This time, Ling Xiao was a bit dumbfounded as he looked at Wen Haiyan. At the side, Wen Kitty was also stunned. Then she revealed a happy smile and said, "That's right. Apart from cultivating all day, I'm almost bored to death. Senior apprentice brother Ling Xiao, when you have time, you can take me out for a stroll." After saying that, Wen Kitty actually ran over and held Ling Xiao's hand, acting like a spoiled child. It was as if she was flirting with her lover. Ling Xiao was increasingly unable to understand what was going on with this mother and daughter pair. But since the elder had already spoken, if he still didn't agree, then he wouldn't know how to appreciate kindness. So he immediately agreed. "That's great. Then next time when I come to play with you, you can't refuse." When Kitty clasped her hands together and smiled. "And absolutely not." Ling Xiao patted his chest. "All right, you young people should get to know each other better." When Haiyan said and then pulled Wen Kitty away, Ling Xiao scratched his head and muttered, "What is this? Could it be that you want to seduce me with your beauty? This young master's will is very firm." After Hua Xiaogui obtained the 1,000-year jade pond grass, she wanted to meet with Wu Sixue. Unfortunately, the deacon refused to reveal any information, so she could only helplessly return with Ling Xiao. After returning to Medicine Peak, Nangong Changle gathered all the inner sect disciples at the foot of the peak to discuss matters within the inner hall. Ling Xiao discovered that a few of his martial uncle Zhu Ruchang's disciples were missing. Ming Kuo and Chang Ruchang were also not present, but Yang En and his disciples were present. There was also a 35-year-old third-rank alchemist. This person was Nangong Changle's head disciple, Chao Nanxian. He was also Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui's senior apprentice brother, and the only true disciple of Medicine Peak. Chao Nanxian's appearance was unprepossessing, but he never smiled. He looked like a very serious person. However, when he found out that Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui were his junior apprentice brothers, he still greeted them with a smile. At this time, Nangong Changle, who was sitting at the head, opened his mouth and said, "Today, I have gathered all of you here to announce something." He paused for a moment before saying, "I have 300 sets of spirit herbs to refine the ice-cold pill. All disciples, come forward and collect 50 sets of spirit herbs. In 3 days, you must refine these 50 sets of spirit herbs into ice-cold pills." When these words came out, all the disciples were in an uproar. To refine 50 sets of stage 2 ice-cold pills in 3 days, this seemed a little too difficult. This is a mission from the sect, and the situation is urgent. No matter what method you use, you must complete the mission as soon as possible. This can also be considered a test for you. Whoever can complete the mission within 3 days and have a success rate of 70% will be rewarded with 10 low-grade mysterious crystals. Those who reach 80% will be rewarded with 20 low-grade mysterious crystals. Those who don't waste any spirit herbs will be rewarded with 1 mid-grade mysterious crystal. When Nangong Changle finished speaking, the disciples in the hall all revealed expressions of excitement. Chapter 199. A piece of middle-grade profound crystal was equivalent to 100 pieces of low-grade profound crystal. The temptation of this reward could be said to be extremely great. Other than Violet Sky Peak, Medicine Peak was the most abundant of the other 7 peaks. This was not a lie at all. As alchemists, although they were part of the sect, they still had to receive remuneration for refining medicinal pills. It was impossible for them to sit around and eat for free. Although the remuneration they received from their fellow sect members was not much, it accumulated to a very large amount of wealth. Moreover, they would provide a batch of medicinal pills every once in a while and auction them off at the Violet Sky City's auction. That income was quite large. Other than a portion of the tribute to the sect, there was also a portion that was left for Medicine Peak to use. All right, you can all disperse. Junior Brother and Nan Xian stay behind. After Nangong Changle had people distribute the spirit herbs, he let the others disperse first. Only Nangong Changle, Yang En, and Chao Nan were left in the main hall. Senior Brother, is something big going to happen over there? Yang En asked first. They shouldn't be able to hold on for long. There are more and more people being poisoned over there. Fortunately, they are only mild. As long as there are enough ice-cold pills, they can be suppressed. Now that the junior brothers are short on manpower, we have to rush out this batch of ice-cold pills overnight. Nangong Changle replied with a serious expression. Since that's the case, why don't you let everyone evacuate? Do you want everyone to be poisoned before they are satisfied? Yang En asked in confusion. There are still a lot of resources that have not been extracted. The sect naturally cannot give up so easily. However, it is already nearing the end. As long as we speed up, everyone will be able to evacuate in less than 2 months. I asked you two to stay behind so that the 2 of you can head there first to support the junior brothers. Nangong Changle said. There are still 2 months, we should be able to hold on. It's just that, in terms of spirit herbs, we don't know if we can keep up, Yang En muttered. It should be enough. You can leave now. I will have someone escort the ice-cold pills over in 3 days, Nangong Changle said. At this time, Chao Nan, who had been silent all this time, said, Master, there are so many yang poisons there. Could there be the legendary? Before Chao Nan could finish speaking, Nangong Changle interrupted him. That's impossible. If that thing really existed, then it would have already turned into hell. How could it allow us to mine it? You can't speak carelessly about this outside, or else it might cause trouble. Seeing Nangong Changle's serious expression, Chao Nan nodded slightly and did not dare to say anything else. After Ling Xiao and Hua Xiaogui received their tasks, they went into their respective alchemy rooms and began to refine pills. After receiving the ice-cold pill Hua of Sect of Spirit Hua Sect, Pill Sect, and Sect Hua Sect, Ling Sect Hua to of Sect. Although Ling Xiao didn't know what the sect needed so many cold ice pills for, since it was a mission, he would do his best to complete it. Moreover, refining a Tier 2 medicinal pill was an extremely easy matter for him. Nangong Changle set a deadline of 3 days to refine 50 batches of ice-cold pills. Ling Xiao worked day and night and finished in less than 2 days. Moreover, his success rate was as high as 100%. After more than a year of bitter training, his flame shadow hand could already produce 36 palm shadows. His speed was so fast that it made people speechless, and his efficiency was unmatched. Of course, Ling Xiao was still dissatisfied with his current state. He still needed to reach a higher goal. Although he was already a third-grade alchemist, he didn't refine many third-grade pills. One reason was that he didn't dare to refine in the mountain, and the other reason was that he didn't have many spirit herbs to refine third-grade pills. He knew that only after he broke through to the spirit master level would he announce his status as a third-tier alchemist. This might be more acceptable. Otherwise, people would look at him like a monster. 3 days later, everyone once again gathered in the main hall. "Take out your pills," Nangong Changle, who was sitting on the highest seat, said. At this time, the 5 disciples all took out their pills and placed them on the table. Every one of them had a confident smile on their faces. Only Ling Xiao did not seem to care. "Boss, how many pills did you refine this time?" Hua Xiaogui smiled from the side. Looking at his happy expression, the success rate should not be low. "You'll find out soon enough," Ling Xiao replied calmly. At this time, an attendant had already come down to count the number of pills. Qi Chaoquan refined a total of 305 pills, lost 195 pills. Success rate is 60%. The attendant said as he counted the pills in front of a slightly chubby young man. Chen Fan refined a total of 360 pills, lost 140 pills. Success rate is 70%. Chen Zhongxian refined a total of 420 pills, lost 80 pills. Success rate is 82%. These 3 were all disciples under Yang En. Next, it was Hua Xiaogui's turn to count the pills. Hua Xiaogui refined a total of 380 pills, lost 120 pills. Success rate is 76%. After announcing Hua Xiaogui's success rate, Nangong Changle, who was sitting at the top, had a faint smile on his face. It seemed that he was very satisfied with Hua Xiaogui's performance. Indeed, Hua Xiaogui had only been in the sect for a year, but he had already advanced from a first-grade alchemist to a second-grade alchemist. Furthermore, his success rate was above 70%. This Tenbin was definitely not ordinary. It had to be known that Yang En's 3 disciples were all around 30 years old and had been in the sect for quite some time. On the other hand, Hua Xiaogui was only 18 years old. Comparing the 2 of them, it was obvious who was more outstanding. "Boss, it's your turn. Seeing that your bottle is filled to the brim, it should be above 80%, Hua Xiaogui said very quickly. Ling Xiao smiled but did not comment. The attendant began to count Ling Xiao's pills. Unexpectedly, after counting once, he counted again with a strange expression on his face. Nangong Changle, who was sitting at the top, said unhappily, "Are you done counting?" "I'm done." The attendant's hands trembled as he put down all the pills and answered, "Then why aren't you announcing the results?" Ling Xiao refined a total of 500 pills without any loss. Success rate is 100%. As soon as he said this, the hall went silent for a moment. Then, everyone looked at Ling Xiao in disbelief. Yang En's disciples were cursing in their hearts. This guy must have cheated. Only Hua Xiaogui had a look of worship on her face as she exclaimed, "Boss, you're too abnormal." "It's just a small matter," Ling Xiao replied in a low voice. For the sake of a middle-grade mysterious crystal, Ling Xiao would not hold back. Although there were many mysterious crystals in his spatial ring, these things were not so troublesome after reaching the Spirit Master level. Nangong Changle revealed a satisfied expression and said, "Good, Ling Xiao, you're not bad. Chen Zhongxian is also very outstanding. You guys need to continue working hard and quickly break through to the 3rd grade. Understand? Everyone else needs to work harder as well." Everyone agreed, and the attendant began to distribute the mysterious crystals to everyone. Only Qi Chaoquan, who had not passed the 7th level, did not receive a single piece. His expression was extremely ugly and ashamed. Ling Xiao, stay behind. Everyone else, disperse, Nangong Changle announced. Soon, only Nangong Changle and Ling Xiao were left in the hall. Nangong Changle squinted at Ling Xiao and said, "Ling Xiao, I didn't expect you to give me such a big surprise. You didn't even waste a single pill. Even a 3rd-grade alchemist wouldn't have such a high success rate." Ling Xiao was slightly startled and was puzzled. Could it be that Master saw through it? "It's all thanks to Master's teachings," Ling Xiao replied. To be honest, between Nangong Changle and Mu Huai's two masters, Mu Huai was more attentive to Ling Xiao. On the other hand, Nangong Changle treated Hua Xiaogui better. One could tell just by looking at how much Nangong Changle paid attention to Hua Xiaogui. However, Ling Xiao would not take this to heart. After all, Nangong Changle had imparted quite a bit of alchemy to him. This is the result of your own hard work. Presumably, when you break through to the Spirit Master level, it will be the time for you to reach the 3rd grade. Nangong Changle sighed. When he was the same age as Ling Xiao, he was just an alchemist who had just started his career. Compared to Ling Xiao, his tenbin was far inferior. However, he did not know how far Ling Xiao could go. Some geniuses were amazing in the early stages, but they would be greatly disappointed in the later stages. Take Lu Dong as an example. He was a very good example. There were also many people who were unknown and only rose up like comets in the later stages. This was called great talents maturing slowly. Although the former might not necessarily fall silent, there was always an exception to everything. Nangong Changle naturally did not want Ling Xiao to be just a flower that appeared once in a while. Since he had taken Ling Xiao as his disciple, he naturally wanted to see Ling Xiao surpass his existence. However, he paid more attention to Hua Xiaogui's growth out of selfishness. Disciple will naturally reach the 3rd grade as soon as possible and will not disappoint master, Ling Xiao replied. However, in his heart he was thinking, the next step is to break through to the 4th grade. It's good that you can think this way. I've asked you to stay because I have something for you to do. Are you willing to do it? Nangong Changle asked. Master, please instruct me, Ling Xiao replied, but he was still puzzled. Nangong Changle nodded and then threw something towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao caught it and was surprised to find that it was a ring. This spatial ring is something that will only be given to you after you become a true disciple, but now that the situation is urgent, I'll give it to you in advance. You just need to drop a drop of your blood essence on it and it will automatically recognize you as its master, Nangong Changle explained. Space ring. Ling Xiao gawked for a moment before asking in surprise. He hadn't expected that Nangong Changle would actually give him such a precious spatial ring. Nangong Changle looked at Ling Xiao's surprised expression and smiled slightly. That's right. This time's mission is for you to deliver the glacial pills to Flame Valley and hand them over to your martial uncles. You will also be accompanied by your senior brothers and senior sisters from the other peaks. Ling Xiao was stunned for a moment and asked in confusion, why does Master want me to go? If something happens, there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Why would Nangong Changle give him a precious spatial ring for no reason just to have him deliver a pill? This was your Master Mu's request to the sect master. Otherwise, such a good thing wouldn't have fallen into your hands, Nangong Changle said with a smile. Master Mu! Ling Xiao's heart was inexplicably moved. In the eyes of others, this stingy old man was incomparably generous and lovable in his heart. Chapter 200. Nangong Changle had Ling Xiao store all the ice-cold pills and the hundreds of spirit herbs needed to refine them into his space ring. Although there will be senior brothers and sisters responsible for your safety along the way, we cannot afford to fail this mission. Consider this armor a small gift from your master. Nangong Changle's hand flashed, and a piece of armor that emitted a warm yellow light appeared in his hand. Ling Xiao could tell at a glance that this armor was a 3rd-rank Xin weapon. Wow! Looks like this mission isn't going to be easy, Ling Xiao thought to himself as he took Wei Jia. Nangong Changle walked in front of Ling Xiao and heavily patted his shoulder. Escorting the pills is one thing. You also need to stay in Flame Valley to help your martial uncle refine even more ice-cold pills. This trip will take at most 2 months. Your Master Mu hopes that you will be able to reap some benefits from this trip. When you return, you will be able to suppress your inner demons and break through to Spirit Master level. I will not disappoint the 2 masters, Ling Xiao replied solemnly. This mission was actually very simple and easy. He only needed to escort the pills and there would be people to take care of him. There should not be any accidents. When he arrived at the destination, he just had to stay and help refine more ice-cold pills. This task could have been done by anyone, but Mu Huai asked for this task for Ling Xiao. It was obvious that he wanted Ling Xiao to go out and relax. After all, Ling Xiao had just failed to break through to Spirit Master. A normal person would have their meridians damaged and their Xian energy regressed. However, Ling Xiao had only been unconscious for a month. When he woke up, there was nothing wrong with his realm. As long as he could overcome his inner demons, Ling Xiao believed that it would be possible for him to make another breakthrough. However, Mu Huai did not know that although Ling Xiao had failed to break through to Spirit Master, it did not cause him to form an inner demon. Instead, he communicated with the innate sinister wind pearl in his consciousness and expanded his consciousness by several times. Could be said that he had gained a lot. He was extremely happy. So how could he form an inner demon? However, Ling Xiao would not reject this trip. He really needed to adjust his state of mind and feel the existence of the spiritual qi so that he could break through to the Spirit Master level as soon as possible. He couldn't just stay in the sect, which would instead hinder his state of mind. If people knew that Ling Xiao had obtained a space ring after going out to handle some matters, it was likely that everyone would become envious, because only true disciples of the sect were eligible to obtain space rings. After resting for a day, Ling Xiao was led to the sect square by a deacon in the Medicine Peak. At this time, there were already several young people gathered in the square. Ling Xiao suddenly realized that there were many familiar faces here, especially that light blue figure, which he simply couldn't get rid of. She's going too? That's great! Ling Xiao exclaimed in his heart. Ling Xiao, you've finally arrived. We've all been waiting for you. The inner sect administrator, Xing Zhantian, immediately called out when he saw Ling Xiao. Greetings, Xing Zhantian. Ling Xiao returned to his senses and bowed slightly to Xing Zhantian. Haha. Good kid, you're still so polite after becoming a Medicine Peak disciple. How rare. How rare. Xing Zhantian patted Ling Xiao's shoulder. The first day he saw Ling Xiao, he felt that this kid was not ordinary. Furthermore, not only did Ling Xiao obtain first place in the trial, he was also the disciple of the various peak lords. This made him think even more highly of Ling Xiao. At the same time, he felt that there was a need to build a good relationship with Ling Xiao. Who knows, this kid might become a rising star in the sect in the future. Xing Zhantian, it's time to go. An urging voice called out from not far away. Okay. Everyone get ready to go. Xing Zhantian seemed to be extremely afraid of that person and immediately called out to everyone. Ling Xiao jumped onto the high-rank 2 Gale Eagle that the Medicine Peak Deacon had prepared for him. However, just as he was about to fly, a warm and soft body made its way over. Ling Xiao looked over and saw that it was Yu Lian, who had come to the Purple Sky sect with him before. Today, this girl was still dressed in beautiful red satin. Her hair was simply tied up, making her look extremely fresh and capable. Her pair of soul-stealing almond-shaped eyes were extremely alluring, and her proud figure emitted a faint fragrance that seeped into one's heart, causing one's blood to boil. Senior Apprentice Sister Yen, what are you doing? Ling Xiao made a little boy is scared gesture. In truth, he didn't dare to flirt around right now. That figure not far away was watching him. If she thought that he had an affair with Yu Lian, then it would be very troublesome. This Gale Eagle of yours is not bad. I want to ride it with you. Yu Yenlai looked at Ling Xiao flirtatiously and sweetly smiled. The two of them were so close that those who didn't know would think that they were a couple. No, I have a mission. Senior Apprentice Sister Yen, don't play with me, said Ling Xiao bitterly. Yu Lian saw that Ling Xiao was in such a difficult position and knew that the sect had an urgent mission. She immediately pretended to be angry and returned to her azure wind crane. Looking at Ling Xiao, she thought to herself, sooner or later I'll make you submit under my skirt. No, I definitely have to keep my distance from this girl. Otherwise, if Meng Qi misunderstands, it'll be terrible. Ling Xiao suddenly felt a chill run down his back. Stepping onto the Gale Eagle's thick back, he rose into the air. In just a moment, all the azure wind cranes and Gale Eagles in the plaza took off. There were a total of 15 people on this trip. Other than Ling Xiao, there were a few inner sect disciples and a few inner sect attendants. There were a few people Ling Xiao recognized. The veiled one was naturally his most beloved woman, Yun Mingqi. There was also the snow-white Bing Ruoshui and the flirtatious Yu Lian. Other than the three great beauties, there was also Huang Yifeng and Shi Tianhou. As for the other disciples, Ling Xiao didn't recognize them. Of the inner sect attendants, Ling Xiao recognized Xing Zhantian and Mo Ku. As for the other three, he didn't recognize them. Through Ling Xiao's observation, he realized that other than him, everyone else was a spirit master. This made Ling Xiao speechless. Bing Ruoshui and Yu Lian had joined the sect at the same time as him. He didn't think that after a year, they would advance so quickly. Huang Yifeng and Shi Tianhou had also become low spirit masters. There were a few other inner sect disciples who were spirit masters. There was even one who was a middle spirit master. Ling Xiao guessed that these were the peak disciples of the various peaks. He believed that they would soon become core disciples. The other inner sect attendants were all middle spirit masters. Yun Mingqi had already stepped into the king level. She was the strongest person out of all of them. This kind of strength would be a terrifying force in any city. Around Ling Xiao were Yun Mingqi, Bing Ruoshui, and Yu Lian. The three girls seemed to be protecting him, but also like they were guarding him. This caused the surrounding male disciples to reveal looks of displeasure, especially that Huang Yifeng who had long hated Ling Xiao to the bone. Yun Mingqi sat on the back of the green wind crane. She was the leader and the most dazzling person. No matter where she went, she would be a beautiful scenery. Ling Xiao looked at her back and couldn't help but feel inferior. Once, he had made up his mind to surpass her and catch up to her. But now, he found that he was getting further and further away from her. No, I can definitely catch up to her. Once this mission is over, I will cultivate with all my strength. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with determination. He made up his mind again. Before, he spent half of his time on alchemy. Now, he decided to put it aside and increase his strength. Moreover, increasing his strength would help increase his alchemy realm. Junior brother Ling Xiao, have you taken a fancy to senior sister Yun? Yu Lian sat on the other green wind crane and sent a voice transmission to Ling Xiao. Yu Lian and Ling Xiao were both from the new batch of disciples, so they had to respectfully address the disciples from the previous batch as senior sister. Not to mention Yun Mingqi's strength was so high that it was already a privilege for them to address her as senior sister. According to the rules of the Purple Sky sect, anyone who broke through to the king level would be called elder. But Yun Mingqi was the daughter of the sect master, so there was no need to call her that. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly. Yes, senior sister Yan, do you have any good ideas for me to catch up to senior sister Yun? Haha, junior brother Ling Xiao, you really dare to dream. Don't you know that the seniors behind you are all thinking about senior sister Yun? Yu Lian smiled beautifully. Indeed, any man who saw Yun Mingqi would have such thoughts in their hearts. What's wrong with that? Everyone loves beauty. Perhaps senior sister Yun will find me to be a handsome young man, and it's not impossible that she will condescend to marry me, Ling Xiao said. In his heart, Yun Mingqi was already his official wife, and no one would be able to snatch her away from him. Yu Lian laughed so hard that she leaned forward and back as soon as Ling Xiao said this. Only when the people nearby noticed them did she manage to cover up her gaffe. Junior brother, you're really funny. In fact, besides senior sister Yun, haven't you noticed that there are others who are also very beautiful? Yu Lian's voice was like the song of a skylark, and it went straight into Ling Xiao's heart. He stared at Yu Lian's charming face, and his expression became one of infatuation. At that moment, an icy intent came from behind Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao suddenly shivered and thought to himself, she's using a seduction technique. Ling Xiao turned around and saw Bing Ruoshui sitting cross-legged on the green wind crane, motionless like a statue. Wasn't that her just now? Ling Xiao was puzzled. What do you think? Junior brother, don't you think that I'm also very beautiful? Yu Lian's phoenix eyes stared straight at Ling Xiao as she spoke in a flirtatious voice. Ling Xiao's bones loosened when he heard this. Ling Xiao immediately circulated his origin energy to keep himself awake. He smiled and said, "Of course you're beautiful, but you should put away your seduction technique. Otherwise I'll fall from the sky. That wouldn't be good. You really don't know how to flirt. I won't tease you anymore." Yu Lian saw that Ling Xiao was no longer affected by her seduction technique, so she stretched her slender waist and smiled. Ling Xiao just happened to catch a glimpse of this scene. Yu Lian's proud breasts seemed to be bursting out of the red satin, causing his mouth to go dry. This time, Yu Lian didn't use her seduction technique. Yu Lian looked at Ling Xiao, who had turned his head away, and laughed inwardly. "Aren't you just as lustful as all men?" Chapter 201. 5 days later, Ling Xiao's group appeared in the sky above a large scarlet-red valley. This large valley was connected to a desolate small city to the north and a corner of the desolate mountain range to the south. According to the terrain, this was considered a small part of the desolate mountain range. Of course, this did not mean that this place was very close to Meteorite City. On the contrary, this place was very far from Meteorite City. After all, the desolate mountain range spanned tens of thousands of miles and spanned across dozens of cities. It was an extremely mysterious mountain range in the Shenling continent. Below Ling Xiao and the others was the destination of their trip, Fire Valley. Flame Valley occupied a very large area. There were a few volcanoes that had long since quieted down. The surroundings of the valley were filled with fire attribute spirit grass, spirit trees, and fire attribute spirit beasts. The spirit beasts here were filled with a violent and ferocious aura. They were much more ferocious than other spirit beasts of the same level. It seemed that they were all affected by the environment here. When Ling Xiao's group arrived here, they all felt inexplicably irritated. "Let's go to the city first." Leading the group, Yun Mingqi shouted and urged the green wind crane to fly towards the desolate small city. Everyone immediately followed behind him. In the small city there were people from the Purple Sky sect. There were a few elders overseeing it, and there were close to 100 outer sect attendants, as well as a few direct and inner disciples of the Scarlet Flame Peak. Before coming, Nangong Changle had already roughly explained the situation here to him. 2 years ago, an attendant of the Purple Sky sect found a small crystal mine in the Flame Valley. What did a crystal mine represent? This meant that there were more non-attributed mysterious crystals for spirit masters and above to absorb and advance. It represented the strength and wealth of the sect. In the vast northwest, among the 36 major sects, the Purple Sky sect was ranked 8th, and there were still 7 major sects in front of it. If the Purple Sky sect completely withdrew this small crystal mine, then in the next 10 years it could definitely rise to a higher level. One had to know that this crystal mine was not something that could be found everywhere. This kind of resource was usually controlled by the large sections. Since the founding of the Purple Sky sect, they had only found 2 or 3 crystal mines to develop to their current scale. Originally, after discovering this crystal mine with the strength of the Purple Heaven sect, they could use more manpower to mine it, but in this extremely harsh environment it was simply not allowed to do so. Let alone the fact that there were almost no traces of water within a circumference of a few thousand miles. It was extremely hot all year round. Even a spirit master wouldn't be able to endure this kind of torture. The most important thing was that these crystal mines had to be mined very carefully. They couldn't be careless or lax in the slightest. Otherwise, they could easily be destroyed. In addition, although this crystal mine was under the jurisdiction of the Purple Sky sect, it was very close to the moon-worshipping sect. If news of this were to leak out and the moon-worshipping sect found out, something would definitely happen. But now that they had mobilized such a lineup, it was clear that something major had happened. All the disciples who had gone to mine the crystal mine had been poisoned by the yang poison, and even some of the deacons and true disciples were no exception. These yang toxins caused them to become irritable, causing their personalities to change greatly. It was easy for them to lose their rationality, and after a while it could even cause them to die from schizophrenia. Now that more than half of the crystal mine had been mined, and there was still a small half that had not been mined out, the Purple Heaven sect naturally would not give up easily. Thus, they sent Ruchang from the medicine peak to rush over with his disciples to guard and refine the ice-cold pills to prevent others from being poisoned by the yang poison. It was just that there were many people here, and the effects of the ice-cold pills wouldn't last for long, so they asked the sect for help. Only then did Nangong Changlu order all the disciples at the foot of the mountain to refine more than 1,000 ice-cold pills in one go and escort them over as reinforcements. Other than delivering the pills, Ling Xiao also had to stay behind to help his martial uncle, Ruchang, guard this place for 2 months. He could only leave after all the crystal mine had been mined out. After Ling Xiao and the others landed steadily on the ground, a few elders of the sect immediately walked over. These 5 people, other than Ruchang, looked like ordinary old men, but in reality, their strength had already surpassed most people. Their old eyes shone brightly, and their temples bulged. These people were definitely king stage experts. Ling Xiao felt that these old men were definitely much stronger than his grandfather, Ling He. Ling Xiao and the others immediately cupped their bodies and bowed to the old men. Is this the power of a sect? It's too terrifying, Ling Xiao thought to himself. Although he had been in the sect for a year, he didn't know just how many king stage experts the Purple Sky sect had. He only knew that, in addition to the Lord of the 9 Peaks, there were many hidden elders. Now these old men in front of him, Ling Xiao could not see through their cultivation. Needless to say, they must be elders of the Purple Heaven sect. Miss, did you bring the ice-cold pills? One of them, Ruchang, stood up and asked Yun Mingqi. Although Ruchang was only a high spirit master, he was a third-rank alchemist. His status was comparable to a king stage expert, so he was also an elder. Yun Mingqi raised her hand and pointed at Ling Xiao. It's on him. Ruchang looked at Ling Xiao and raised his eyebrows, looking a bit displeased. Ling Xiao stepped forward and cupped his hands. Greetings, martial uncle. Master asked me to bring the ice-cold pills and spirit herbs. Then hurry up and take them out, Ruchang said indifferently. To be honest, he didn't like this martial nephew of his. He'd actually become a disciple of both Medicine Peak and Wooden Flag Peak. 1 disciple, 2 masters. In his eyes, this kind of behavior was extremely disgraceful. If it wasn't for the appearance of Wooden Flag Peak's previous elder, he would definitely be the first to object. Martial uncle, are we really going to take them out here? Ling Xiao asked after a moment of hesitation. If I tell you to take them out, then take them out. Why are you being so long-winded? Ruchang didn't know if it was because of the hot weather, but he couldn't suppress his temper and roared. Huang Yifeng, who was behind Ling Xiao, had a gloating smile on his face. Lu Dong, who was behind Ruchang, was the same. The 2 of them were extremely displeased with Ling Xiao. Then, martial uncle, catch it? Ling Xiao frowned slightly but immediately relaxed his brow as the space ring in his hand flashed. Crash! A large pile of medicine bottles and spirit grasses instantly appeared in front of everyone. Zhu Ruchang and the others were shocked. They didn't think that Ling Xiao would actually bring so many things with him, and he even had a spatial ring. The things that Master wanted me to bring are all here. Martial uncle, please inspect them, Ling Xiao said indifferently. You? Is there anyone like you who doesn't respect their elders? Ruchang looked at the small mountain of medicine bottles and spirit grasses and glared at Ling Xiao as he shouted. Ling Xiao's actions were completely a slap to his face. Martial uncle, how am I disrespecting my elders? Ling Xiao asked back, then continued. Just now, all the elders and deacons heard that you told me to take them out. Now that I've taken them out, you say that I'm disrespecting my elders. Martial Uncle Zhu, what do you want me to do to make you satisfied? Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with mockery. If others didn't give him a good expression, then he naturally wouldn't give them a good expression either. You! Elder Ru Chang's face turned red, but he couldn't say anything. All right, Brother Zhu, let's put away the ice-cold pills first. Why are you competing with the children? An elder said. Ru Chang coldly snorted and waved his hand. All the medicine bottles and spirit grasses on the ground were stored into his spatial ring. Then he glared at Ling Xiao before turning around and leaving. You all find a place to rest. Miss, come with us, The elder who spoke just now said again. Yun Mingqi nodded at the elder and then left with the other elders. At this time, the disciples who came with Ling Xiao also dispersed. Only Shi Tianhou walked in front of Ling Xiao and said, I didn't think that we would become fellow disciples. The current Shi Tianhou had lost his previous simplicity and became much more reserved and calm. It seemed that the incident in the desolate mountain range had greatly affected him. Ling Xiao had a very deep impression of Shi Tianhou. Back then, this fellow had even used his 2 axes to attack him. However, Ling Xiao didn't hold a grudge. Instead, he admired Shi Tianhou. To be able to escape without abandoning his companions, compared to Huang Yifeng, this was a true man. I also didn't think that I would be able to take revenge. Ling Xiao looked at Shi Tianhou playfully. Revenge? I didn't offend you back then. Shi Tianhou didn't understand. Back in the desolate mountain range, it had always been his senior brother Huang Yifeng causing trouble for Ling Xiao. But he hadn't done anything to Ling Xiao. You still dare to say you didn't? When I was caught by the lightning eagle, your axes struck me. Did you forget? Ling Xiao angrily glared at Shi Tianhou. Shi Tianhou thought about it for a moment and smiled. He really hadn't expected Ling Xiao to remember it so clearly. Embarrassed, he said, That time was indeed my mistake. How about I just stand here and let you attack me? Looking at the serious Shi Tianhou, Ling Xiao laughed and said, There's no need for senior brother to be so serious. Junior brother was just joking with you. If senior brother doesn't mind, how about we drink to our heart's content together? Shi Tianhou was stunned for a moment before he finally revealed a simple and honest smile and said, All right, let's drink to our heart's content. Ling Xiao and Shi Tianhou found a place to sit down. Ling Xiao took out 2 jugs of wine from his spatial ring and tossed one over to Shi Tianhou. Come, senior brother, let's drink. All right, let's drink. Shi Tianhou accepted the jug and straightforwardly agreed. The 2 then began to drink together. As the strong liquor entered their stomachs, they felt a refreshing feeling, temporarily forgetting about the scorching heat in this place. Senior brother, how long have you been in the sect? Ling Xiao and Shi Tianhou began to chat. He felt that Shi Tianhou was a very worthy friend. Although he was simple and honest, this was where his strong point lay. He wasn't like some people who had deep schemes in their hearts. That kind of friend was the truly frightening thing. The most important thing in making friends was to open one's heart. Only this kind of friend would help you in your most difficult times and definitely wouldn't trip you up behind your back. Without a doubt, Shi Tianhou was that kind of friend that was most worth making. I've been in the sect for almost 4 or 5 years, Shi Tianhou recalled. Senior brother, Tenbin is extraordinary. You've already broken through to Spirit Master at such a young age. I believe that you'll soon become a true disciple. Still early. Haven't there already been 2 people in your generation who have broken through to Spirit Master? They're the ones with extraordinary Tenbin. Junior brother, you're not bad either. You're already at the peak of high-level mystic disciple and breaking through to Spirit Master is just around the corner. You're also an alchemist, you really make me jealous. Senior brother, please don't laugh at me. I'm just a bit of an amateur. While the 2 were chatting, a few figures hurriedly ran over, looking very anxious. Chapter 202. Where's the elder? Hurry and get the elder to come and save him, cried a beautiful woman as she supported a young man whose face was completely red. Her companions were also crying out in alarm. It seemed that something had happened to the young man. At this time, an old man walked out of the camp and said, What's going on? Elder Li, hurry and look at Senior. He might not be able to hold on for much longer. The woman's expression was extremely anxious as she called out to the old man. Put him down and let me see. The old man furrowed his eyebrows and shouted. Then everyone put the red-faced young man down. The old man checked the young man's meridians and took out 2 ice-cold pills. He placed them in the young man's mouth and sent a wave of spirit force into his body. Hurry and call Elder Zhu out. The old man's expression changed, and he immediately shouted to the people beside him. Then someone went to call Ru Chang out. Ru Chang's anger still hadn't subsided. His face was ashen, and no one dared to get close. Ru Chang felt the young man's pulse, then tore open the clothes in front of the young man's chest. The young man's entire body had turned dark red, and the veins on his body had turned black. He looked extremely frightening. Ru Chang, can you save him? Asked Elder Li. It's difficult. The fire poison is about to attack his heart. The ice-cold pills can only make him last for one more day. After one day, he'll die without a doubt. Ru Chang shook his head. What? No, don't. Elder Zhu, I beg you, you can definitely save Senior. You have to save him. Hearing that, the woman's face became incomparably pale, and she continuously begged Ru Chang for help. The man in front of them was the head disciple of Scarlet Flame Peak, Ji Yanzhao. He was one of the top direct disciples. He was only 28 years old but was already a middle spirit master. The woman holding him in pain was also a direct disciple of Scarlet Flame Peak. Her name was Mo Ilian, a 26-year-old low-level spirit master. Scarlet Flame Peak mainly cultivated fire attribute spirit energy. The two of them had been sent to Flame Volcano to carry out a mission. Actually, this was all because the Scarlet Flame Peak's Peak Lord Zhao Mingyuan wanted his disciples to cultivate in a place with dense fire attribute spirit energy. This was extremely beneficial to those who cultivated fire attribute. Who would have thought that although the fire attribute spirit energy here was dense, it also contained fire poison, also known as yang poison. Originally, their situation wasn't this bad. The sect had already gotten Zhu Ruchang and the others to refine ice-cold pills for them to suppress the fire poison. However, Mo Ilian was naturally restless. Furthermore, she was already a spirit master, so it would be inappropriate for her to not have a decent spirit beast by her side. Thus, she suggested to her senior brother Ji Yanzhao that the two of them should subdue a spirit beast here to protect themselves. Originally, Ji Yanzhao did not agree to it. After all, the spiritual beasts here were filled with berserk auras and were difficult to tame. However, Mo Ilian was throwing a tantrum, and Ji Yanzhao was deeply in love with this junior martial sister, so he could only follow her to the Flame Valley to catch spirit beasts. Not only did he not manage to catch the spirit beast, but Ji Yanzhao was bitten by the spirit beast. He was immediately invaded by the fire poison, and his life was not spared. There are only two ways to save him. The first way is to find an Earth Sovereign Realm expert within a day and use his profound chi to expel the fire poison from his body. The second way is to refine a grade 5 ice soul pill for him. Otherwise, Ruchang said with an unsightly expression. After everyone heard this, their expressions became gloomy. Mo Ilian burst into tears. She kowtowed to Ruchang and begged, Elder Zhu, I beg you, you must save my senior brother. I told you not to act on your own. What's the use of crying now? Even if your master comes, he won't be able to save him. Ruchang said coldly. Ji Yanzhao was already poisoned by the fire poison, but he didn't suppress it much. Now that he was injured by the spirit energy, the fire poison inside the spirit energy was even stronger. Ji Yanzhao's condition was similar to Li Yang's in Meteor City. The ice soul pill wouldn't be able to suppress it for much longer. As usual, is there really no other way? Elder Li asked with a doubtful expression. Ji Yanzhao was a genius of Scarlet Flame Peak. He was also Zhao Mingyuan's favorite disciple. Elder Li didn't want to see Ji Yanzhao die. Elder Li, forgive me for not being able to help, Ruchang said. Sigh, this child Yanzhao. Elder Li heaved a heavy sigh. Mo Ilian's face was ashen. She clung to Ji Yanzhao's body and cried, Senior, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. Mo Ilian's cries attracted the attention of the surrounding people. Those who knew Ji Yanzhao revealed looks of sympathy, while those who didn't know him or had nothing to do with him had a look of indifference. After all, this was a world where the strong lived, and death was just a common thing. Not far away, Shi Tianho sighed. What a pity. Senior Yanzhao was a genius of the last tournament. He's a good person. Why did he die first? Come, Let's drink to Senior Yanzhao. I hope he can get rid of his pain soon. Who knew that just as Shi Tianho finished speaking, the unconscious Ji Yanzhao would suddenly wake up. Kill! Kill! After Ji Yanzhao bounced up from the ground, his whole person fell into a state of madness. His fists were constantly waving, and streams of fire attribute spiritual power scattered in all directions. In an instant, the surrounding people dodged. Mo Ilian, who was closest to Ji Yanzhao, was hit by a punch and was sent flying. "Stop!" Elder Li shouted in a deep voice. He pressed down with one hand and an invisible spiritual energy enveloped Ji Yanzhao from all directions. Ji Yanzhao was immediately suppressed by the spiritual energy around him. However, his eyes were bloodshot and he continued to roar. He looked like a ferocious beast. "Senior brother, you want me to accompany you, right?" Mo Ilian crawled up and looked at Ji Yanzhao, who seemed to have gone crazy. Her eyes revealed the will to die. "Ilian, don't be impulsive," Elder Li shouted. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, Mo Ilian took out a long sword and slashed at her throat. "You little brat," Elder Li scolded as he used his other hand to restrain Mo Ilian. "Elder Li, just let me go with Senior brother. It's all my fault," pleaded Mo Ilian as she wept. A few of the female disciples around them were secretly crying. Many of them seemed to have been touched. Over the years, they had neglected their loved ones in order to pursue higher martial strength. They felt that they could only have everything if they were strong enough. But today, they truly felt the power of love in front of them. Perhaps it was more appropriate to say that there was true love in the world. Just as Elder Li was at a loss of what to do, a lazy voice sounded. "Why do you want to live or die? He's not dead yet. If you die and he lives, won't you die a wrongful death?" As soon as he said that, everyone turned to look at the source of the voice. "He can only live for one day. There's no point in me living anymore." Mo Ilian didn't know who spoke. She was restricted by Elder Li and couldn't move. However, she could tell that the other person was talking to her. "There's no point in living for only one day." The voice sounded again. In an instant, everyone's eyes were filled with anger. He was obviously saying that there was no point in living for one day. It was better to die now. "You're right. That's why I want to die with Senior. Otherwise, I won't be happy for the rest of my life." Mo Ilian agreed. "Since you have the courage to die with him, do you have the courage to live with him?" The voice sounded again. This time, before Mo Ilian could respond, an annoyed voice shouted, "Ling Xiao, don't cause trouble here. Get out of my way." The one speaking now was Zhu Ruchang. The one who had just spoken was Ling Xiao, who had been drinking and eating with Shi Tianho. "Uncle Master, I'm just trying to calm this senior apprentice sister down. How is that considered causing trouble?" Ling Xiao glanced at Chang Dao, puzzled. Why do these two dislike me so much? Could it be that they're both jealous of my Tianbin? Humph, there's no place for you to talk. Get lost. Zhu Ruchang placed his hands behind his back and snorted. Ling Xiao had embarrassed him just now. Now, he was going to use his status as an elder to put pressure on Ling Xiao, lest he be too arrogant. "Uncle Master Zhu, are you in charge of this place? You don't even have the right to fart?" Ling Xiao retorted with a smile. In his heart, he had already classified Zhu Ruchang as an unwelcome person. "How dare you?" Zhu Ruchang roared. This brat had no respect for his elders. At this moment, Lu Dong stood up and pointed at Ling Xiao. "Ling Xiao, my master is an elder of the sect and your uncle master. Of course he can control you. If you dare to talk back, you'll be disrespecting an elder of the sect and offending a superior. My master can execute you on the spot." Lu Dong finally found a chance to suppress Ling Xiao. He laughed in his heart. "How dare you offend my master? Even if the Peak Lord was here, he wouldn't dare to be so arrogant." This elder?" Ling Xiao hesitated for a moment before saying. As soon as these words came out, Lu Dong's face instantly darkened. He immediately shouted at Ling Xiao, "I am your eldest senior brother, Lu Dong." "Oh, so it's a senior brother, not an elder." Then why don't you scram to the side? Didn't your master forbid us juniors from talking here? Ling Xiao said disdainfully as he raised his eyes. You! Lu Dong's face darkened at Ling Xiao's words. Lu Dong, back off, Zhu Ruchang said coldly. He then turned to Ling Xiao and said, You have a sharp tongue. I'll kick you out of Herb Mountain when we get back. That's enough. If you want to quarrel with Herb Mountain, go somewhere else. Don't make a fool of yourselves here, Elderly shouted. Zhu Ruchang and Lu Dong stopped talking. They just stared at Ling Xiao angrily. This brat was too much. He dared to talk back to the elders, deacons, and disciples. They wouldn't let him off easy when they got back. Ling Xiao looked at the two with disdain. He immediately bowed to Elderly and said, Elder, I have a way to cure this senior's fire poison. As soon as he said this, everyone looked at Ling Xiao with a sneer. Only the two silhouettes frowned slightly, their beautiful eyes filled with astonishment. Chapter 203. Aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? Lu Dong whispered in disdain. The scene was already silent, and everyone present was an expert. Lu Dong's words reached their ears, and most of them agreed with him. Just now, Ruchang had already made it very clear that Ji Yanzhao could only be saved if an Earth Sovereign Realm expert expended his essence to help him expel the fire poison, or if there was a grade 5 ice soul pill. But now, Ling Xiao said that he could save Ji Yanzhao. Wasn't this a complete denial of Zhu Ruchang's judgment? First of all, everyone could see that Ling Xiao was only a high-level mystic cultivator, and the difference between him and an Earth Sovereign Realm expert was like heaven and earth. The first condition was already impossible to fulfill. Could it be that Ling Xiao had a 5th-grade elixir? This was simply the ravings of an idiot. In the Northwest, the number of alchemists who had reached the 5th-grade realm could be counted on one hand, and those were all great figures that were rarely seen in other large sections. And in their Purple Sky sect, the highest-ranked alchemist was Ling Xiao's master, Nangong Changle, and he was only a 4th-grade alchemist. Of course, it was impossible for him to refine a 5th-grade Dan. Therefore, no one thought that Ling Xiao would have a 5th-grade elixir. But they were all wondering why Ling Xiao was so daring as to boast in front of an elder. Didn't he know that talking nonsense was a crime of looking down on an elder? Elderly frowned and said, Kid, although you have good intentions, there are some things that you can do and some things that you can't. Do you know that? All right, there's nothing else for you to do here, you can leave. Elder, since he won't live past a day, why don't you let me try? Maybe he can really come back to life. Ling Xiao was not as disrespectful to the elder as he was to Zhu Ruchang. After all, Zhu Changxian didn't like him, so Ling Xiao felt that he respected the old and loved the young. Elderly was silent for a moment, and just as he was about to speak, Mo Ilian cried out, Please, please. As long as you can save my senior brother, I'll do anything. Ling Xiao, are you done yet? Do you really think I can't do anything to you? Ruchang was enraged to the extreme. He shouted at Ling Xiao, and the aura of his body pressed down on Ling Xiao. Ruchang was a peak spirit master, and his strength was not something that a normal spirit master could compare to. Although Ling Xiao had a strong mental strength to rely on, he still felt uncomfortable when he was suddenly suppressed by Ruchang's aura. It was as if a large stone was pressing on his chest. I'm really easy to bully. Ling Xiao was also starting to get angry. Originally, he had only said a few words, but now, Ruchang was suppressing him with his aura. If it wasn't for the fact that he was a little more capable, he would have vomited blood because of this aura. Just as Ling Xiao was about to counterattack, a voice called out, Elders, there's no need to be angry. Let him try. Ling Xiao let out a sigh of relief. She still cares about me? Just as Ling Xiao was about to counterattack. She still cares about me? Ling Xiao looked at Yun Mingqi affectionately and thought, Since Miss has spoken, I'll let you try. If you can't cure him, then immediately scram back to Herb Peak. I'll find your master and explain everything, Ruchang said coldly. At the side, Lu Dong and Huang Yifeng both had gloating smiles on their faces. Shi Tianho walked over and patted Ling Xiao's shoulder. Junior brother? Don't force yourself. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Ling Xiao looked gratefully at Shi Tianho and then shouted at Ruchang. Don't worry, my good martial uncle. If I can't cure him, I'll leave the sect. I'll leave the sect. His words were loud and clear, allowing everyone to hear him clearly. Where does this kid get his confidence from? Does he really have some tricks up his sleeve? Who knows? Maybe he doesn't want to stay at Herb Peak anymore. Impossible, he's still so young. Does he want to destroy his own future? Yu Lian's eyes flashed with a mysterious light as she muttered, still so impulsive, but I like how you're so manly. On the other side, a beautiful figure had a complicated look in her eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. In front of Ling Xiao, Yun Mingqi looked worriedly at Ling Xiao. She was cursing in her heart. Why is this guy so impulsive? Is he going to give up? Haha. Good. Good. This old man will see how you're going to save him today. Ru Chong laughed. However, he didn't know that his words had gone too far. His words clearly meant that he didn't want Ji Yanzhao to come back to life. Ru Chong, watch your words, Elder Li said with displeasure. Ru Chong was stunned for a moment before he immediately retracted his expression and replied, yes. In his heart, he hated Ling Xiao even more. Why aren't you going to save him? At this moment, Yun Mingqi shouted at Ling Xiao in annoyance. Ever since she had gone through a life-and-death situation with Ling Xiao in the desolate mountain range, Ling Xiao had become deeply ingrained in her heart. Every time she thought about how he had risked everything to save her, every look and every action was filled with manliness. Furthermore, he had given her the soft-tide sword and soft-tide sevenfold waves cultivation method. One had to know that the soft-tide sword and soft-tide sevenfold waves cultivation method would cause a bloodbath no matter where they were. But Ling Xiao had given them to her without even a frown. Such a magnanimous man was rare in this world. Afterwards, she had obtained the inheritance, and not only had she recovered her strength, but she had also reached the peak of Spirit Master. This made her realize that the difference in strength between her and Ling Xiao was too great. If her father knew that she was with a man from a small city, she was afraid that Ling Xiao and his family would be implicated. After weighing the pros and cons, she had chosen to leave Ling Xiao. But before she left, she had given Ling Xiao a hope. If Ling Xiao could catch up to her footsteps, she would agree to be with him. Although she wasn't optimistic about Ling Xiao, in her heart, she still hoped that Ling Xiao would be able to constantly strive to become stronger. When Ling Xiao had become a sect disciple, he had also become a disciple that the various peaks had fought over. She had felt joy and comfort for him, because the man she had taken a fancy to was truly outstanding. But when Ling Xiao had announced that he was a second-tier alchemist, she had become even more excited. After all, the status of an alchemist was extremely respected no matter where they went. The distance between the two of them had already been very close. In the past year, there had been several times when she had wanted to see him, but she had resisted. One reason was that she wanted to break through to the king stage and needed to close her eyes. The other reason was that she hoped that Ling Xiao would focus on becoming stronger. She felt that one day, Ling Xiao would personally come to find her. But now, in order to save Ji Yanzhao, Ling Xiao had suddenly made such a resolute decision in front of everyone. She felt that perhaps Ling Xiao felt inferior because the gap between them had widened. Perhaps he felt that it was impossible for him to catch up to her footsteps, so he had found an excuse to leave the sect? For a moment, her heart was in chaos, and she didn't know what to do. Ling Xiao smiled lightly at her. Yes, senior sister. At this time, Elder Li had already released Mo Ilian, but Ji Yanzhao was still firmly suppressed. But now, his entire body had turned red, and his eyes seemed to have lost all humanity. Ling Xiao walked to Ji Yanzhao's side, and with one hand, he struck Ji Yanzhao's acupuncture point, causing him to temporarily lose consciousness. Give me a quiet place. Ling Xiao picked up Ji Yanzhao and said with a serious expression. Immediately after, Elder Li had someone bring Ling Xiao to an abandoned house. Little thing that doesn't know life from death. Let's see how you save him. Ruchang cursed under his breath, his expression ashen. He had been a third-grade alchemist for many years, and no one had ever dared to speak to him in such a manner. Even his senior brother Nangong Changle had to give in to him. Who would have thought that this little thing had no respect for his elders? He swore that he would definitely expel Ling Xiao from Medicine Peak. No. From the sect. This city had long been abandoned, and the houses here were extremely simple and crude. There wasn't even a single wooden bed. However, Ling Xiao only wanted to save Ji Yanzhao. As long as no one disturbed him, it was fine. Immediately, he placed Ji Yanzhao flat on the ground. "Senior sister, go outside and protect me. Without my permission, don't let anyone disturb me." Ling Xiao turned to Mo Ilian and said. Mo Ilian looked deeply at Ji Yanzhao, then nodded her head and walked out of the house. Ling Xiao sucked in a breath of air and muttered, "You're lucky to have met me." With that, he slapped his palm on Ji Yanzhao's chest, and a gust of innate wind evil qi surged towards Ji Yanzhao. Innate wind evil qi was originally an absolute item, and it just so happened to be able to restrain the poison of extreme yang. Moreover, he had the experience of curing Li Yang, so Ling Xiao dared to boldly agree. At the same time, he was also moved by Mo Ilian's love for Ji Yanzhao. Otherwise, the life and death of others would have nothing to do with him. He didn't think of himself as some kind of good person who saved the dying and helped the injured. When the innate wind evil qi entered Ji Yanzhao's body, the dark red color on his body instantly faded by a lot. Ling Xiao didn't think that this would be enough to expel the fire poison. Some fire poisons were very cunning, and if it was just an ordinary fire poison, the elders and attendants of the Purple Sky sect wouldn't be so distressed. The fire poison in Ji Yanzhao's body didn't seem to be as strong as he had imagined. In just an instant, it was completely eliminated by Ling Xiao's innate wind evil qi. Ling Xiao couldn't help but wonder, why is the Flame Valley so strange? Could it be that there's something strange about this place? Forget it, it's none of my business anyway. The sect is mining the crystal mine here, and it's not something I can touch. Just as Ling Xiao was about to withdraw his palm, the palm that was pressing on Ji Yanzhao's chest suddenly heated up, and a wave of manic energy suddenly attacked. Suddenly, the arm that Ling Xiao had pressed on Ji Yanzhao's chest turned red, like a red-hot soldering iron. The meridians on his arm also swelled up from the energy, and his entire hand looked extremely sinister. How insidious. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows and muttered to himself. The innate wind evil qi in his body seemed to have sensed the existence of an old enemy, and it immediately rushed towards the fire poison. Don't worry, let's see what tricks it can play first. Ling Xiao suppressed the innate wind evil qi and allowed the fire poison to invade his body. If this kind of behavior were to be known by the people outside, they would probably open their mouths and curse, "Madman!" The fire poison was tormenting them to the point that they couldn't do anything. This guy could obviously restrain the fire poison, but he was using his body to test it. Did he not want to live anymore? Chapter 204. Just as Ling Xiao was treating her, Huang Yifeng walked over to Yun Mengqi and softly said, "Congratulations on breaking through to the king level." Ever since Yun Mengqi had returned from the desolate mountain range, she had distanced herself from Huang Yifeng. Huang Yifeng naturally knew that his actions had disappointed her. Now that she had broken through to the king level, he didn't dare have any fantasies about her. But he still didn't have a good feeling in his heart. "Thank you," Yun Mengqi indifferently replied, as if she was talking to a stranger. After that incident in the desolate mountain range, she had clearly seen through Huang Yifeng's character, so she didn't want to have any contact with this senior apprentice brother of hers. Huang Yifeng chuckled and walked over to Yu Lian's side. Now his target had already shifted to Yu Lian. Although this woman wasn't as outstanding as Yun Mengqi, she was still a rare beauty. Not only that, her figure was definitely a top-quality stunner. Not only that, but her soul-stealing eyes caused Huang Yifeng to feel a strong desire to possess her. "Junior apprentice sister, when we have time, let's find a place to spar. This place is very suitable for us to cultivate." Huang Yifeng greedily stared at Yu Lian's chest, his heart filled with dirty thoughts. Yu Lian looked at Huang Yifeng and blinked a few times. Senior apprentice brother's strength is high. Junior apprentice sister isn't senior apprentice brother's match? Huang Yifeng laughed. Junior apprentice sister is too modest. Your senior apprentice brother will go easy on you. How could I bear to see a beauty like you get hurt? Within the sect, Huang Yifeng could be considered as one of the most handsome men. Who knew how many senior and junior apprentice sisters in the sect had their hearts set on him? It was just that his eyes were arrogant and picky, so how could an average woman enter his eyes? Back then, he had almost moved Yun Mingqi's heart, but in the end, he had failed. Now he could only settle for the next best thing. This Yu Lian seemed to be able to tug at his heartstrings. If only all the men in this world could be like senior apprentice brother and have tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. Yu Lian charmingly looked at Huang Yifeng. Her voice was like a spring breeze that struck Huang Yifeng's heart, making him feel extremely comfortable. That's only natural. Junior apprentice sister is so beautiful and moving. Who wouldn't cherish her? The desire in Huang Yifeng's eyes became even stronger. Yu Lian pointed at her lips and said in an aggrieved tone, "That man of mine doesn't care about me at all, and he even treats me coldly." "What? Where's your man? I'll kill him," Huang Yifeng unconsciously shouted. He didn't know that he had fallen for Yu Lian's charm. He spoke very loudly so that everyone around could hear him clearly. TSK, as a fellow disciple of Scarlet Flame Peak, this guy is really shameless. That's right. He won't even let off his own junior sister. What's more, she already has someone she likes. He's always thought too highly of himself, and he even said that he wanted to woo junior sister. Now that he knows that he can't catch up to her, he wants to woo junior sister Lian instead. How despicable! For a moment, all the disciples were secretly cursing Huang Yifeng. Yun Mingqi felt that Huang Yifeng was extremely disgusting. This guy actually wanted to hook up with a girl who already had a sweetheart. He really didn't know how to humiliate himself. Elderly, who was standing to the side, shouted, "You little brat, scram!" Huang Yifeng's chest felt as if it had been struck, and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he collapsed to the ground. Who the fuck plotted against me?" Huang Yifeng angrily shouted from the ground. "Noisy!" Elderly shouted again, and a formless wave of spiritual energy pressed down on Huang Yifeng. Pooh! Huang Yifeng was once again sent flying. Elderly was already in a bad mood, and when he heard his own disciple act so shamelessly, he decided to teach Huang Yifeng a lesson. Huang Yifeng really deserved it. He actually dared to provoke that seductress Yu Lian. Haha, he deserves it. Yu Lian laughed in her heart. Who knew that a sharp light would suddenly shoot towards her? Yu Lian quickly lowered her head, not daring to show any arrogant expression. How could such a lowly trick escape Elder Li's sharp eyes? He just couldn't be bothered to deal with it. At this moment, Ling Xiao walked out with a relaxed smile on his face. "How was it? Did you save him?" Elder Li asked in a low voice. Everyone else turned their attention to Ling Xiao. Chang Yu and Lu Dong, on the other hand, wore looks of disdain. "Fortunately, I didn't fail." Ling Xiao glanced at the master and disciple pair and cupped his hands at Elder Li. "Really?" Elder Li exclaimed. Ling Xiao smiled, but didn't say anything. Someone had already confirmed his words. Mo Ilian walked out, supporting the weak Ji Yanzhao. "Senior apprentice brother Ji is fine. This is unbelievable. Does he really have a 5th grade elixir? That's great. I've also been poisoned by fire poison, but there's hope of getting rid of it. Look, his complexion doesn't look right. Senior apprentice brother, you ingested fire poison?" Shi Tianho asked with a frown. At this time, many people noticed that Ling Zhao's complexion was much redder than before. "Senior apprentice brother, you're worrying too much. I'm fine." Ling Xiao smiled. Mo Ilian helped Ji Yanzhao over to Ling Xiao and bowed to Ling Xiao. "Many thanks for saving my life, senior apprentice brother. If there's anything I can do for you in the future, please let me know." Ling Xiao helped the two of them up. We're brothers, so don't be so serious. Senior apprentice sister, it's best if you let me rest and recover. It won't be good if he's attacked by fire poison again. Mo Ilian and Ji Yanzhao looked at Ling Xiao gratefully and returned to their rooms to recover. At this time, everyone was looking at Ling Xiao in a different light. How could there be such a stupid person in this world? He'd actually attracted fire poison for someone he didn't know. Now he'd saved someone, but he'd died. Senior apprentice brother, are you really okay? Yu Lian walked over to Ling Xiao and asked worriedly. This time, she was genuinely concerned and didn't try to seduce him. Ling Xiao grinned. Don't worry, I won't die. Elderly looked at the carefree Ling Xiao and couldn't help but nod with admiration. You're called Ling Xiao. Our Scarlet Flame Peak owes you a favor. Ji Yanzhao was a true disciple of Scarlet Flame Peak and represented the future backbone of Scarlet Flame Peak. Now that Ling Xiao had used his own poison to save Ji Yanzhao, Elder Li was very grateful to Ling Xiao. Before Ling Xiao could reply, Ru Chong sneered, Elder Li, you don't have to do this favor. He actually dared to absorb Ji Yanzhao's fire poison. In less than 3 days, he'll die from the poison. Ru Chang's eyes were cold and he purposely dragged out the last few words as if he was afraid others wouldn't know. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions changed. Lu Dong, on the other hand, had a happy smile on his face and almost couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ling Xiao suddenly laughed out loud. Ha ha, to have a martial uncle like you. You really are a cold-blooded villain. After laughing, he took out another pot of wine and drank it down his throat, singing to wine. How long will life be? Like the morning dew, the passing days are long. Clearly like the moon, when will it be gone? Sorrow comes from within and cannot be stopped. Everyone looked at Ling Xiao's confident back and didn't know why they felt bitter and self-deprecating. It was rare to see such a carefree and unrestrained person who didn't care about life and death. The eyes of the surrounding women were filled with complicated emotions, as if they couldn't hide the pain in their hearts. Or perhaps, naturally, Ling Xiao wasn't stupid enough to exchange his life for a stranger's. He was a transmigrator who valued his life more than others and would never commit suicide. He had the innate Yin Wind bead in his sea of consciousness and possessed the innate Yin Wind evil qi. Expelling the fire poison might be particularly troublesome in the eyes of others, but to him it was nothing at all. The reason why he allowed the fire poison to invade his body was naturally because he wanted to cultivate the third transformation of the Vajra 5 transformation's secret art, organs refinement. Ling Xiao had been stuck in the Vajra 5 transformation's secret art for a year and a half because he lacked high-level spirit herbs and medicinal pills. Now that he had stayed in the Purple Sky sect for a year, he had already found a lot of supplementary spirit herbs, and after saving G2's granddaughter, Ji Beixin, he had obtained a few third-level spirit herbs from G2, including a high-level third-level spirit herb called Mischievous Grass. Mischievous Grass was a kind of healing spirit herb. Just like its name, its vitality was extremely tenacious. As long as it wasn't completely dead, as long as there was still a little essence left, it could grow again. It was a kind of top-quality, high-level spirit herb for treating internal injuries. Consuming this spirit herb could greatly strengthen one's internal organs and increase their vitality, allowing anyone to increase their cultivation speed by 2 to 3 times within a month. In other words, after consuming the mischievous grass within a month, the speed of cultivation would be 2 to 3 times faster than usual. In other words, cultivating for 1 month was equivalent to cultivating for 2 to 3 months' worth of energy. Of course, there was also a limit to taking the mischievous grass. A person could only take it 2 or 3 times in a lifetime. When it was taken for the 2nd or 3rd time, the effect would be halved, and after the 4th time, there would basically be no effect. This mischievous grass was an important spirit herb for cultivating the 3rd transformation of the Vajra 5 transformation's secret art. Ling Xiao allowed the fire poison to enter his body in order to let the fire poison invade and destroy his internal organs. Then, he would take the mischievous grass and borrow its spiritual power to repair his internal organs. At the same time, he would circulate the Vajra 5 transformation secret art and use it to reach the intermediate realm in one go. Of course, others would naturally not know of Ling Xiao's plans. They only thought that Ling Xiao was sacrificing himself to help others. In a quiet shabby house, Ling Xiao was meditating with a calm expression on his face. At this moment, he was using the innate miasma wind to form an encirclement, so that the fire poison in his body could only invade his internal organs and not invade his dantian. Previously, when Ling Xiao failed to break through to the spirit master level, he was lucky enough to enter his consciousness and connect with the innate miasma wind pearl. Now, he could control the innate miasma wind as he pleased. With just a thought, he could direct the innate miasma wind pearl. The fire poison was surrounded by a large amount of innate miasma wind pearl, so it couldn't do anything. Could only wantonly destroy Ling Xiao's internal organs. Pooh! A mouthful of blood came out of Ling Xiao's mouth. Not only did he swallow blood, but his facial features were also showing traces of blood. This situation was too frightening. He was actually bleeding from his 7 orifices. Chapter 205. The 5 viscera and 6 bowels were where a person's soul was located. It was an indispensable part of the body for anyone to survive. The fire poison was wreaking havoc in Ling Xiao's body, and his 5 viscera and 6 bowels had already started to rot. According to the general theory, Ling Xiao's internal injuries were not light and he was in danger of dying at any time. Looking at his ears, nose, mouth, every part of his face was bleeding and he looked like a devil from hell, ferocious and frightening. If anyone were to see this scene, they would probably be scared out of their wits. And now, Ling Xiao was tightly guarding the top of his head, enduring the inhuman torture. The Vajra 5 transformation secret was a perverted cultivation method, and at the same time, it was also a self-torturing cultivation method. Cultivating the first 2 transformations was to torture the external body, while cultivating the last 3 transformations was to torture the internal body. Therefore, to cultivate the 3rd transformation, refinement of organs, one must first use the poison to enter the body, first destroy the 5 viscera and 6 bowels, then use the mysterious technique to repair them, until they reach the realm of immunity to all poisons. Originally, Ling Xiao had been thinking hard on how to continue cultivating the Vajra 5 transformation secret. He did not expect that, in order to save Ji Yanzhao, the fire poison would actually bore into his body, and this made him think of this method. But according to the normal cultivation method, one must guide the poison into the body and at the same time destroy the 5 viscera. He must take the spiritual grass to help save his life. However, Ling Xiao did not take any medicinal pills, nor did he take the stubborn grass. Instead, he allowed the fire poison to wreak havoc in his body. This kind of action could be said to be extremely crazy and could also be said to be a kind of suicidal action. Why was Ling Xiao so confident to take the risk? Of course, it was because of his 3 parts restoration energy and the Vajra 5 transformation secret. The 3 parts restoration energy originally had the function of self-healing. Although it was not as perverted as the Vajra 5 transformation secret, it had a real healing effect. Moreover, his 3rd transformation of the Vajra 5 transformation secret was already at the small success stage, and the recovery speed of his body's muscle energy was not slow at all. Moreover, the most important point was that Ling Xiao cultivated the invisible wood secret art. The wood attribute profound energy itself had a certain recovery ability. With the 3 of them working together, it would not be a problem for him to keep his life. After half an hour, Ling Xiao slowly opened his eyes. He looked a little weak, but the fire poison in his body had been completely eliminated by his innate Yin Wind evil qi. All that was left was to slowly restore his body. Now, Ling Xiao didn't intend to take any more elixirs or spirit herbs. He only relied on his 2 great mysterious techniques to restore himself. Moreover, he didn't know how long it would take for him to fully recover. Ling Xiao's body circulated the 2 divine arts, and at the same time, he raised his mental power to the highest level, spreading it out in all directions. Now that he was seriously injured, he definitely couldn't let anyone disturb him. If it was an enemy, then it would be terrible. He had no choice but to be cautious. Whoosh! Just as Ling Xiao spread out his mental power, a figure silently descended from the sky. Who is it? Ling Xiao's hair stood on end as he cried out in alarm. The person who came was too sudden, and there were no signs at all. It was enough to show how terrifying the strength of the person who came was. Ling Xiao had already prepared a pill and was ready to take it at any time. But when he saw who it was, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. A graceful figure, dressed in light blue muslin, a pure white silk scarf, and a faint fragrance assailed his nostrils. Other than Yun Mengqi, who else could it be? She was dressed in simple yet elegant satin. Her beautiful face was like a sculpture, and her ink-like hair was tied with a bow. Her slender waist was swaying like a willow, and her body was shimmering with an ethereal radiance. She couldn't help but feel ashamed. Now, she looked even more ethereal than when she was in the desolate mountain range. Just by standing there casually, she made people feel ashamed of themselves. Mengqi! Ling Xiao exclaimed in disbelief. Yun Mengqi turned around, a faint trace of worry in her eyes, but her tone was a bit cold. Are you all right? Ling Xiao bitterly smiled and wiped away the blood on his face, trying his best not to let Yun Mengqi see it. But with Yun Mengqi's eyesight, she could clearly see that Ling Xiao had already been heavily injured. I'm fine. Thank you for your concern. Ling Xiao stood up with great difficulty. This wasn't an act, but rather he really was heavily injured and hadn't recovered yet. Seeing Ling Xiao's weak appearance, Yun Mengqi's heart clenched. She knew that Ling Xiao had been poisoned by fire poison, and she had also heard Changyu say he wouldn't be able to live for more than 3 days. Just now, she had been so cold to him. Could it be that my face is really that important? Perhaps I really am a cold-blooded woman. He's already like this, so how can I still be so cold to him? Yun Mengqi asked herself. She thought back to everything that had happened in the desolate mountain range. How many times had this man disregarded everything to save her, giving her the safest embrace, allowing her to obtain the inheritance of an Earth Emperor? Thinking of that, she felt even more cold-blooded, and more she felt that she had let down Ling Xiao. Mengqi, what's wrong? Ling Xiao noticed that tears had appeared in Yun Mengqi's eyes, and he couldn't help but panic. Who would have thought that in the next instant, a warm and fragrant body would appear in his arms? Ling Xiao was stunned. Why are you so stupid? Yun Mengqi's voice was almost sobbing. Ling Xiao let out a light breath, feeling that the beauty in his arms was still thinking about him. For a moment, he felt extremely carefree and comfortable. This past year's worth of longing and anticipation had finally transformed into rain, filling his entire body with the strength of love. Mengqi, with those words of yours, even the heavenly emperor wouldn't be able to take my life, said Ling Xiao faintly as he hugged Yun Mengqi's waist. You're still talking? Hurry up and let me see if your fire poison has flared up, said Yun Mengqi worriedly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with intense affection. At this moment, she finally began to face her feelings for Ling Xiao. It was as if she had become a fairy that had fallen into the mortal world, no longer so high and mighty. I'm really fine. How could I be stupid enough to exchange my life for someone else's? I'm not some good person, said Ling Xiao with a pale smile. The more he said this, the more Yun Mengqi didn't believe him. As a king-level expert, could it be that she couldn't even sense the strength of Ling Xiao's aura? Are you still going to lie to me? Right now your internal energy is in chaos. I'm afraid you won't be able to suppress the fire poison for much longer. Let me help you. Yun Mengqi wiped away the tears in her eyes. Holding Ling Xiao's pulse, she began to pour her powerful water attribute spiritual energy into him. Looking at the crying person in front of him, Ling Xiao felt even more moved. He didn't struggle against her hand. Instead, he used his Shen Qi to guide her spiritual energy into his body. Yun Mengqi's spiritual energy was extremely powerful. Adding on the fact that she was pouring her full strength into him, Ling Xiao felt his entire body fill up. The two Xian techniques immediately began to devour the energy. The small tree in his mind sea also seemed to sense something. A green light began to shine, and a powerful suction force came from its roots. It wanted to take a share of the pie with the Tushian techniques. Yun Mengqi seemed to sense something, but she felt that it might be the fire poison, so she increased the amount of spiritual energy she was pouring in. What pure energy! Lu Wang couldn't help but praise from within Ling Zhao's mind-sea. He closed his eyes and the roots beneath his feet once again increased their suction force. Even Ling Xiao felt that the amount of spiritual energy being split by the Tushian techniques had decreased by a lot. However, the amount of spiritual energy he had obtained was enough for him to quickly recover from his internal injuries. After all, Yun Mengqi's water attribute spiritual energy had a powerful healing effect. "It's fine, Mengqi. I'm fine now," Ling Xiao said. Yun Mengqi glanced at Ling Xiao. Seeing that his complexion was much better, she withdrew her hand. "Are you feeling better?" Yun Mengqi softly asked. Ling Xiao nodded and smiled. "Much better. With you here, I'm completely fine." "Don't be so talkative. The elders said you won't live for more than 3 days. Yun Mengqi couldn't hide her sorrow. Ling Xiao felt a sharp pain in his heart, and immediately embraced Yun Mengqi's boneless waist. He softly said, "Really, I'm fine. I can restrain the fire poison. Just now, I was only able to force out the fire poison, and that's why I appeared a bit weaker." Yun Mengqi heard Ling Zhao's resolute words and her heart calmed. Just as she was about to open her mouth to say something, she broke free from Ling Zhao's embrace and instantly disappeared from Ling Zhao's sight. "I hope you don't forget your promise and surpass me as soon as possible." Yun Mengqi's voice rang out in Ling Zhao's ear. Just as Ling Xiao was in a daze, a fragrant scent accompanied by a wave of cold air assaulted his nostrils. "Who?" Ling Xiao came back to his senses and shouted. When Ling Xiao saw who it was again, he was once again stunned. An incomparably cold and elegant face, a snow-white veil, and an ice-cold aura surrounded her exquisite figure. She was impressively Bing Ruoshui. She frowned as she looked at Ling Xiao, her beautiful eyes flashing with a complicated expression. The beautiful figure in the sky couldn't help but be stunned. "How could it be her? What are you doing here? Don't tell me you want to kill me again?" Ling Xiao looked at Bing Ruoshui with slight vigilance. Thinking back to before, this girl had repeatedly wanted his life. He didn't know what he had done to make her unhappy. No matter what, he was the dignified Meteor City, no, the #1 handsome man of the Purple Sky sect. How could he not be welcomed? Could it be that this girl didn't like men? Bing Ruoshui didn't say anything. She only took out a medicine bottle from her waist and threw it towards Ling Xiao. She said indifferently, "3rd-grade ice heart pill. It can suppress the fire poison in your body for a month." After she finished speaking, she actually floated away. All that was left was a wave of cold air, causing Ling Xiao to slightly quiver. He looked at the ice heart pill in his hand, scratched his head, and muttered, "What is this girl? Could it be that she accidentally fell in love with this young master because of hate?" However, just as Ling Xiao put away the ice heart pill and was about to leave, another wave of fragrance assailed his nostrils. "Who is this?" Ling Xiao was almost speechless. Wasn't the place he found very hidden? Why were there still so many people looking for him? "Junior brother, are you all right?" A pleasant voice filled with concern sounded beside Ling Zhao's ear. For a moment, Ling Zhao's legs felt weak. Besides her, who else could make him lose control like this? You're tuning in to the Legend of the Vagabond YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.